Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And welcome to the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points in filmmaking. And tonight, building up to Infinity War. Dragon, I'm sorry, this is going to date the podcast terribly, but I can't help it. Like, oh my god, dude, we're so close.
Yes.
We're so close. I have like 3 work days left until Infinity War. Oh man. So building up to Infinity War, folks, we are going to be recording a commentary for Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, Drake, do you want to kind of like explain our rhetoric for why we record commentaries on this channel?
Sure. You see, folks, what we try to do is we try to do commentaries for the films that do not have commentaries. You know, the films that deserve commentaries, one could say. And Spider-Man Homecoming, believe it or not, is one of 2 Marvel films in the entire catalog of the MCU. Because MCU kind of follow they try to follow not to the exemplary level of like a Pixar, kind of DVD release where every DVD release is fantastic, amazing, has commentary, features galore, Incredibles, Monsters Inc., you name it. Can't quite.
I tell you, we still need to do a freaking we still need to do a podcast just on disc 2 of the Incredibles DVD before Incredibles 2 comes out.
And we will.
That's going to be the most niche thing we've ever talked about, but I'll love every minute of it.
True. It'll be nostalgia fest. Anyway, so folks, Spider-Man Homecoming, again, it was, came out as a whole bunch of features on it, informative features, don't get me wrong, cool features too. But again, no commentary of all things. And the baffling thing is every other Spider-Man movie, every other Spider-Man movie has commentary on it, but not Homecoming.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So we're going to, get kind of see the perspective. You got to remember, folks, Spider-Man Homecoming is on Earth. It's what we see right before Infinity War. So it's the Earth perspective of what's going on right before Infinity War. So it's kind of the perfect thing to get ready for Infinity War, see where we left things off in the MCU, kind of the monumental thing of like, hey, we're doing Spider-Man. Marvel has the rights to Spider-Man after we've introduced him in Civil War. Let's see how that panned out on film. And yeah, again, we're just going to let's just see a bit of a kind of a snake eating the tail sort of thing. Where we left things. And of course, Tony Stark does factor into this film, so there's a lot of interesting things to glean. Of course, in the commentary, we're going to try to make it as conversational as possible. So you don't need to watch the movie, but heck, it's a commentary, so if you can watch it with us. But
All right. So before we get into the actual commentary, do you want to kind of just set the stage for our opinions on this movie, because I feel like I have sort of a dicey opinion of it that needs to be set up front.
Sure. So yeah, folks, back when Homecoming did come out, we may have done a first reactions to it. I don't remember. With anything else, just suffice it to say, it's been a while. And just depending when he's a refresher, and I imagine they would. I was very big in the Homecoming. I really liked it. And by no means is like has replaced Winter Soldier in my heart by any stretch. But I did enjoy it. I really thought it was a really solid take of a Spider-Man film. Kind of did everything I was hoping to see with Spider-Man brought into the MCU, and I was very dazzled by a lot of things. And Tiki's was very much so back then of a very different opinion. But let's see where he's at now with having rewatched the film. Tiki, tell the folks.
Okay, so this to me is my definition of an average MCU movie. And I still kind of feel that way, honestly. Look, I want to make this clear right off the bat. This movie pretty much does absolutely nothing wrong. There's really not anything I can point at to be like, no, bad movie. You shouldn't have done this. Bad. But at the same time, Dragon, just because I have such high emotional stakes in the Raimi movies, and I admit this is total bias on my end. This is total bias. I grew up with those Raimi movies. I live and breathe those Raimi movies. So to me, I think just the hype surrounding this movie, basically, if the hype around this movie hadn't been as big as it was, and I honestly kind of feel like now that we've had some time with it, the hype around it is kind of cooled off. Like, people really like this movie, but I feel like the general vibe of it being the best Spider-Man movie ever is kind of worn down a little bit. But suffice to say, I think my opinion of this, it's certainly the third best Spider-Man movie ever made. I mean, that's a pretty easy statement to make. I still I still pretty definitively, to me, there's a pretty big gap between this one and Spider-Man 1 and 2. Like Spider-Man 1 definitely has its problems, but just the nostalgia factor and the pathos and the heart. Spider-Man 1 in many ways is kind of like our generation Superman.
Well, I'll tackle this a little here, just to kind of meld into your thesis here, is that what's fascinating about the Raimi Spider-Man films is that the Raimi Spider-Man films fits into kind of doing the superhero origin 101. So, of course, if you look in the grand scheme of things, you're basically your blueprint for the superhero movie, your blueprint for the superhero origin movie, or like the first grand venture, if you will. You got Superman 78, Richard Donner Superman. Then you get Spider-Man, you get Raimi's, Spider-Man 2002, the first one, and beyond that, you have in the Marvel age, you have Iron Man. In between there, you have the experimental pieces like Batman Begins, kind of like starting to challenge what that is. I'm saying those three are really the generation-defining, like superhero origin 101. So like kind of how you do that sort of thing. So I think it's really interesting to really kind of see how we've grown and how Marvel kind of took like how you do an origin and kind of started to kind of, I don't want to say mass produce in a negative way, but I mean kind of construct a playbook on how to kind of do a new origin and make it really story oriented in a way that is similar to like the Superman 78 approach, but has that kind of that more, it kind of fused the other two methods in a way that can be reproduced. So it's interesting.
So, Dragon, kind of in a nutshell, my opinion on this movie as a Spider-Man movie is basically with Spider-Man, I'm kind of looking for a mix of lightheartedness and pathos. Like that to me is kind of like the blue meth formula that Raimi was able to so brilliantly capture with his first two movies. The heart mixed with the pathos and the drama of being Spider-Man. And I gotta tell you, Dragon, the reason why Homecoming still doesn't resonate with me is it's a Spider-Man movie that lacks pathos. It's a Spider-Man movie that relies on the fun factor, which might make for a fun viewing experience, but to me, it's kind of like I don't want to, disposable is a harsh word. I don't want to call it disposable, but it's certainly not an MCU movie that I'm going to look back on and be like, oh man, that really changed the game. Like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's really, really good standout moments of this movie, most, if not all of which involve Michael Keaton. But it's just I want to I think this series has a good shot going forward of really if they focus less on the comedy, get a little bit better of a blend of the comedy and the drama. I think this series can do great things. But as of now, as a starting point, it's a good movie. It's a solid movie. But like I said, when I think of like an average MCU movie that does everything right but doesn't really excel in anything, this is kind of what I think of. And I know that's not really a popular opinion, but hey, you know what? That's what makes being a film fan so fun. Film is subjective. We all kind of have our tastes and our likes and dislikes. So like I said, Dragon, this movie does absolutely nothing wrong. I don't dislike any element of this movie, but I'm not particularly in love with any element of this movie either. So that's kind of like my broad spectrum thoughts on it.
All right. Okay, a little bit of background before we jump into this.
Sure.
Okay, so here's what gets us Homecoming, folks. So, of course, we had Captain America: Civil War, which gave us Spider-Man, of course, in the wake of the big Sony Marvel deal, which essentially is, to everyone's understanding, because again, no one can really look up these contracts. Unfortunately, we can look up other things these days. Very simply, Sony reeks in all the money. Marvel, from what I understood, from what I had it kind of spelled out to me once, that Marvel does all the legwork, all the creative legwork. They can use Spider-Man kind of like a timeshare, and Sony actually recoups all the money, or at least most of the money they have final say. That's how the arrangement works, and that's kind of the deal they struck. And Sony, they're kind of, well, let's just say they're always kind of in perpetual limbo, like how they're going to do things going forward. But the point is, that's where we're at on Spider-Man. So Marvel has Spider-Man. Hooray! We introduced them Civil War, and now we circumvented the origin. Now we're just going to tell Spider-Man stories. Let's see. So when they're making Civil War, they knew they were doing Homecoming. When they were casting Spider-Man for Civil War, because again, you want to have the consistency of actor, which they have very in all the other Marvel movies.
Yeah, except one.
Again, two if you want to be, Iron
Yeah,
Man.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Again, the point is rarely do they have to kind of again they've been batting like they've been batting 90 out of 100 on that. You got to be
Uh-huh.
okay. So what they did is they auditioned the kid based on the two big scenes for Spider-Man, the two big interactions, the two heroes that kind of mirror Spider-Man. The big scene with Tony Stark in the bedroom, and the scene with Captain America, whole like Brooklyn, Queens. That scene. Those are the two scenes they used to audition their Spider-Man. And they auditioned a whole bunch of kids. Ended up with Tom Holland. And here's a cool thing: they actually auditioned Tom Holland in the low-tech Spider-Man suit. So they had that figured out when they were doing Civil War.
Nice, nice.
So they had John Watts. So you see, John Watts is the director of Spider-Man: Homecoming. He wanted to do a coming-of-age high school movie. At the time, they were looking for a director, and it just kind of landed in his lap of, "Hey, well, you want to do Spider-Man? Yeah, that's exactly the kind of movie I want to tell, and it's with Spider-Man, even better." So he was on set when they were filming Civil War, so he could see kind of what their Spider-Man approach was, so he could write it into Homecoming, kind of figure it out, and vice versa. So they kind of figure each other out. Like, okay, here's the take we want to do on Spider-Man. So essentially, what they won't necessarily say this because Marvel's terrified of admitting such a thing, but the fact of the matter is they wanted a cinematic man on the street perspective of the MCU, much like they're doing on Netflix with the Defenders. They just wanted a cinematic version of the Defenders with Spider-Man, essentially. And and the goal primarily was to do stuff with Spider-Man. And this is the mantra through the entire film. You can see, and we'll go through it as we dive into it. But you see, the goal was to do stuff with Spider-Man that had not been done before on the big screen. Stuff that we'd seen in the Raimi films and the Mark Webb films. The primary influence of terms like kind of what we got. There's always been like an ultimate and the classic Marvel Comics approach to the MCU as a whole. So they did the same here. There's a lot of Ultimate Spider-Man in this, which is the younger 15-year-old Spider-Man in the modern era, that's Ultimate Spider-Man. And there's this book I recommend to everybody. I met the creators of this book, Craig Thompson and Craig Russo. There's this book called Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane, and that's basically Spider-Man in his high school years from Mary Jane's perspective. So they kind of melded those two young Spider-Man approaches, along with, of course, classic references from the very first run of Spider-Man back in the Lee Ditko days. Originally, Nick Fury had a role. Little fun fact there. Originally, Nick Fury was going to have a role in the whole thing, much like he does in the Ultimate comics. Again, pulling from the Ultimate stuff, they kind of exercise that because Sam Jackson's expensive. And it's unclear. The last thing I really have here is it's unclear how much of the Spider-Man 4, because Sam Raimi was going to do Spider-Man 4 for a time, and there was a lot of crazy ideas being floated around, like there's going to be Carnage, there was going to be Vulture, there's going to be a whole slew of Spider-Man villains. So Vulture was floated around, definitely around Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man 4. So it's unclear if a lot of the ideas that we end up here are from that, like kind of the development days of Spider-Man or not. It's very coincidental. To say the least, but in the end, all fits the early Spider-Man years because the second villain Spider-Man ever came across was the Vulture. After the Chameleon, it was Vulture. So again, they're definitely going for a very early years of Spider-Man approach. And that happens. We get some really spoilery trailers, and the movie comes out. Big success.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about those damn trailers throughout the movie, Dragon. I have a bone to pick with that.
And we'll get into more of the making of as we go through. So essentially, that's all you need to know in a nutshell, folks. So.
All right. Honestly, folks, if like any residual like after effects of me not liking this movie as much as I could have, blame it on the damn marketing. Honestly.
And I want to emphasize, I blame Sony's marketing on that primarily. Sony's side of the marketing. So again, they had some stuff to do in this. Okay, they just make
because Sony has a history of terrible marketing.
That's what I'm saying. Sony, again, it's not just they have final say in reeking all the money. They have to advertise. And that, of course, means we got to butcher things with the trailer.
I'm so glad that Marvel's been playing it safe with Infinity War and being like very, very anti-spoiler with that movie.
One last thing, because we just talk about the Sony evil, because I don't know where I'm going to fit this in this conversation, except maybe the end credits. I'm just going to say it up front real quick.
Right.
It's funny. If you look on the DVD bonus features, you can tell it's almost like they have a gun to their head that everyone everyone involved in the production, they have to say glowing things about Sony. Like Kevin Feige has to say very nice.
Oh
Everyone has to
no.
say.
Oh no. Oh god.
They all basically they have to give Sony major props for. And yeah, we love the old Spider movies, and it's very collaborative with Sony. And again they can't say that. Yeah, we're doing all the legwork with Sony, just raking all the money. They can't say that because I feel what the reality is.
Hey,
Tiki.
Dragon, it's almost like an interview for a DVD bonus feature might not be what the person actually feels in real life.
Mm-hmm. There's some subtext there, folks.
Shots fired at Channel Awesome.
I was going to leave it a little more vague, but okay. But and yeah, just Tiki, I tell you, it feels like Sony's it's like a child, and Sony's like the child. Like you tell them, like, don't do this, and of course they're trying to wreck their own stuff. It's like they knock over, like, don't spill the oatmeal, Just providing them the meal, and they're tossing it aside because it's an impulse. They're trying to sabotage their own happiness sometimes.
Right, so we should probably get into it.
Yeah, let's do it, man. It's a thwip,
Okay,
man.
so folks, like Dragon said, we're going to do our very best to make this an active discussion that you don't need to be watching the movie to enjoy, but, it probably wouldn't hurt to have the movie on. It is a commentary after all, so if you want to get the movie set up, go ahead and get your, whatever you're using, your streaming copy or your DVD or whatever, and get it synced up to timestamp 00. Then I'm going to count up to 3 and then say go. And then when I say go, we're all going to press play. You got that, Dragon?
Doing this Lethal Weapon style. I got it.
All right, folks. Spider-Man Homecoming in 1, 2, 3, go! Spider-Man does whatever a franchise can.
All right. So I really like that when we start this movie, our first image and line that we get is a representation of the man on the street living in the MCU post Avengers, which of course is the big. Again, I'm jumping ahead while we're having like all the old favorites like Columbia logo popping up.
Can I just say it was really nice to see the Columbia logo in front of a Spider-Man movie again? Like
it feels very like like your home. It's like, yeah, it's Columbia. We're at Spider-Man's town. Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, this image here of Vulture's child, of Adrian Toombs' child doing a drawing, in a world post Avengers, it's really good. It's a good symbol for what that is. Just like this is like kind of an average Joe's kind of looking at, we're in a different world now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, we're kind of starting out, sort of laying out the thesis statement in this cold open of, the street level of it all, like the street level perspective. And you know what this reminds me of, Dragon, is now, of course, I have long since given up on trying to follow all the continuity of the different Marvel TV shows along the way. But like we had that one concept for a show that was basically the Marvel cleanup crew for the Avengers. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. So this is all damage control here, and essentially, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. start off similar to damage control, and then they kind of, again, they're starting to actually. Last I heard, they're actually developing a show on what we have established here. So it's a question if they're going to follow through on that. But damage control is a concept by the beloved writer Dwayne McDuffie, who came up with that idea of the cleanup crew. It basically, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. start off more like Men in Black, and these guys are distinctively the cleanup crew. Not Adrian Toombs and company here, but the guys are going to like that time.
Right, yeah.
But it's a great idea, and again, I think it fits my wheelhouse of what I wanted to see done in the MCU. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we do on Defenders and the Netflix stuff all the time. I can't get enough of this stuff. I love seeing kind of the big screen kind of all the stuff we see happen in like kind of the mundane aftermath of what happens there. I love that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is cool. I love this just with this whole setting where we start with Adrian Toombs' character. I love that with the Vulture and of course like the man with the suit with wings on it. You have a very kind of Olympus, kind of like an Icarus / kind of like the Avengers Tower as we see it. It towers among all these guys. It's like the Olympus that he's trying to fly to and rob as the main heist of the movie. So it's very much like he's Icarus trying to rob the gods in a way. And again, it's kind of a part of your roots for the guy in a way, because as we see in this opening here, he gets really screwed over by Tony Stark and the Avengers, which of course is what Age of Ultron, well, Civil War more so is all about. Like there's a cost and an aftermath to these big events, and this is like the most kind of down to earth level that we kind of explore that.
Dragon, big question here because I think they're both two of the strongest villains in the MCU. Killmonger or Tooms?
For me, I love Killmonger, but I'm going Tooms all the way because again, Tooms is fitting into that wheelhouse. I just explained what I love to see explored in the MCU. For me, like Tooms is my kind of villain. I love Tooms more than Killmonger.
I hear you, but I gotta say, having seen Black Panther for the 4th time this week in preparation for Infinity War, oh man, like Michael B. Jordan just has such a screen presence. Not that, don't get me wrong, not that Keaton, it's the Battle of the Michaels, not that Keaton doesn't have a screen presence, but B. Jordan just brings something to it, man. Anyways,
So, I mean, I love that. And again, this is what I'm talking about. I love that all the things you can read into the Vulture. You can still read a lot of stuff with Killmonger, but with Vulture, though, again, like it's visually there in the costume and everything. And the whole, I know there's a similar argument can be made. By the way, little mini thing I want to get on here. The 8 years later, I finally cracked the code on the 8 years later, by the way. So it does make sense.
Oh God, okay.
So look, I won't bore you with the details. Let's just say, the Marvel universe actually starts in 2007. So basically, Avengers happens in 2008. So 8 years later, Civil War and Spider-Man: Homecoming takes place in 2016. Therefore, there's your 8 years. Just trust me. You can. Anyone wants to know, leave it in the comments. I'll explain it to you more thoroughly. Just that's how it works. I finally nailed either that or it doesn't make any sense. And Kevin Feige's a really good liar. One of the two. Okay, if Kevin Feige meant what he said, I figured it out. If not, well, then that's how it goes.
Uh-huh.
All right.
So
He promised like a
things I do have to give the Vulture is, I mean, he's straight up one of the most intimidating villains of the MCU, and I like how on a sheer physical point of view, he towers over Spider-Man in most of the movie.
Yeah, he does. I mean, I love, again, another thing I love about him, because again, you can make the argument between Tooms and Killmonger all day, but last thing I will say, my point of Tooms is, it's so cool seeing how Tooms and Wilson Fisk, they kind of built a business post the Avengers. So I love that he's kind of a cinematic equivalent. Again, not to the same degree or like the same kind of all-encompassing kind of like criminal kingpin, but he's the blue collar kingpin. He's the guy who has like he's a very small controlled business versus like a guy who's like he's kind of building an empire and building like connections through the criminal underworld. Tooms is like he's a guy with a very distinct. It's kind of a small scale. It's like Wilson Fisk if he was an Ant-Man villain almost.
That's actually a really good comparison. And
that's the thing. He's a small scale kingpin in many regards. He's a smaller villain. So this opening, I love this a film by Peter Parker.
I saw the extended version of this, by the way.
As did I. And this is funny to me, Tiki. I'm reading into this, but I don't think I'm reading into it too much. That when he's giving like the whole almost like a cops it's a New York, it's a tough beat, Tony. When he's doing that, he sounds like John Bernthal. And what's so funny is that in real life, he and Bernthal know each other, and he actually helped Bernthal get his audition for the Punisher. So Tom Holland helped him get the role of the Punisher on Daredevil. So I think he's actually doing an impersonation of John. I don't think I was far off with that. Like he sounds like John. He sounds like the Punisher.
Oh God.
So yeah, this video diary idea, it was longer as Tiki's saying here, and it showed my favorite part of it. I love how it showed Spider-Man saving people in like a little Spider-Man adventure in Germany, in Berlin, just kind of saving people after like a wild night out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was good. And this is a good way of like for anyone just on the off chance who has not seen Civil War, this is a good way of kind of recapping Civil War, but from Peter's perspective, keeping Peter, alive in the movie as kind of you're investing in him. And again, it's like we're investing in Peter, not just like you're not just watching it for the MCU, you're watching it through this man on the street, kind of the little guy's perspective of the MCU being roped into it and just again tracking him along with it like you were someone like watching a YouTube video of this or something.
Oh, this absolutely feels like a YouTube vlog from like 2007.
Exactly.
I know it's not in the year 2007. I'm just saying the way it's shot is like
yeah, I got you.
YouTube.
So to speak of just like kind of the reason, sorry, I was trying to rework here. Oh yes. So the whole Tony Stark mentoring Peter Parker. The idea we started Civil War that are really carrying out here. I love how we're seeing like we're continuing Tony Stark's arc in doing that. He's pairing with Spider-Man as Iron Man's attempt at upgrading his legacy for the future of heroes. Basically, he's trying to make a hero better than himself. More accurately, he's trying to make up for like the kid that his actions got killed. in Civil War. You know, Drew Sharp, the kid who got killed in Sokovia stuff, and he kind of mentored a kid in Peter Parker, someone who could do good. And what he's trying to do in this movie that he kind of says later on is that, you know, I wanted you to be better than me. And I thought that was such a good idea that Tony did take a lesson away from Civil War that he is continuing here when you really think about it. That, you know, he did go through a traumatic experience by the end of Civil War, and he wants to make a hero that, you know, I think Tony in part realizes that he and Cap were both wrong to an extent in Civil War, and that in some way, you know, grooming this kid's going to be kind of the right version of their conflict. That something positive is going to come out of all that mess that I kind of threw this kid into. I'm going to make sure this kid, you know, he's a different kind of hero. He's the hero that we overlooked in all the chaos that went down there. Again, the stuff that caused the Civil War. You know, the little guy getting hurt, so we're gonna have the guy look out for the little guy.
Mm-hmm.
So again, he wants to make someone who is a mix, as it's so funny, a mix of Iron Man, Captain America, which Spider-Man, way before Iron Man came out, he dwarfed both of their popularity. So both of those characters who are now so popular are kind of building up the hype and the legacy of the old time Marvel great.
Dragon, there was a moment in 2012 when I just thought it was just absolutely insane that, you know, a Spider-Man movie and a movie starring a bunch of B-grade Marvel characters, like, you know, like the Hulk and Spider-Man and Iron Man and Captain America, like the Avengers was the huge deal that year, and nobody remembers Amazing Spider-Man. I just remember how surreal that was, that kind of transition in our culture.
Yeah. Oh, fun fact, real quick, because we're going to take a little break from Downey Jr. here. But Downey Jr., in large part, he took on. I don't know if this is like helped him figure out him wanting to do Civil War or not, but for Homecoming, because the way the arrangement goes at Downey Jr., like these films on the side, he had to personally agree to do. Like these aren't part of his contract or anything. I want to make that clear. Like from what I heard, Civil War and this, like they had like convinced he has to say yes on this. So.
Uh-huh.
Downey Jr., way before Iron Man, he was a lifelong Spider-Man fan. He saw himself in Spider-Man. That's primarily why he did this movie, because he loves the character of Spider-Man.
I don't know, Dragon. This is kind of a touchy subject, but I'm of the opinion that, well, Tony Stark definitely should be in this movie. I think he's in a little bit too much of it.
You know, look, Tiki, that's a fair point, but you got to remember, in the story, especially what we're going to be building to with Infinity War, that's how it goes, especially in that need. Again,
yeah, that's the price we pay for having it be in the MCU, I guess.
I'm just saying, even the comic story Civil War, which they've made vast improvements of from the source material, you know, again, like Peter Parker and Tony Stark do have a relationship in the comics, and you might as well take advantage of that while we're here. You know?
Okay, can I just say, I really freaking love this Betty Brant, and I hope we see more of her, because I really love this actress in The Nice Guys.
Yeah, it's I think it's Angoria Rice or Angori Rice, one of those two. The mural, by the way, it's kind of hard to tell. It's like worth a freeze frame for the folks out there. You'll notice you have Howard Stark, the John Slattery Howard Stark. You have Dr. Ernstkind from Captain America, and I heard, I mean, it's hard to see, but you can kind of see a glimpse of him. You have Bruce Banner.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah. It's cool. I would imagine Tony Stark has to fund the school in part for that mural. I don't know. I'd like to think I think he's, because he sent Peter here, so he has to be. I think he's involved in it. I don't know.
Okay, so Ned, mixed bag for me, because I love him as a character. I especially love the aesthetic of him. I think the idea of, you know, the his race and the fact that he's a bigger kid. You know, he's I love the look of him. Having said that, I like his character too. I think the one problem with Ned is, again, I feel like this movie lacks pathos, and Ned is a big reason why. Ned is almost kind of like the Korg in Thor Ragnarok, where he's kind of like undercutting a lot of the drama in places.
You know, yeah, that's a fair point. I see the Korg comparison is a good idea. Yeah, it's, I mean,
don't get me wrong. Like I said, much like Korg, I love Korg, and I also love Ned. Ned's one of my favorite characters in the movie. I just think he's a byproduct of the problematic symptom of the MCU being maybe a little bit too comedic when it shouldn't be.
I see your point, but by the same token, I'll say I think he's a little more grounded than that. I don't think he derails as much as Korg.
Right. A little bit more grounded than a rock monster. Yes.
No. I mean, I don't think he derails things as much as I don't think the argument can be that he derails things as much as Korg does. That's where I'll differ on you. That I see where you're coming from, but I don't think it's as as much like a tone thing as with Korg. I think like again he fits
By
into
the same
the
token, though, I don't think Korg derailing things is as much of an issue in Ragnarok, because Ragnarok is supposed to have a different. Again, this is just me. This is just me going back to like I love my Spider-Man with the pathos and the heart on its
well.
sleeve and the
I
raven
think let me. I think I can interpret what your issues because it's kind of one of my issues with the movie is that I feel there is a subjective quality in the high school stuff. Will either grab you or won't. Some of the high school stuff in this, like the high school jokes and some of it doesn't grab me. Like Flash, I hate Flash Thompson in this movie. I really
penis
do.
marker.
Yeah, I hate. Again, nothing against the actors. I loved him in Grand Budapest Hotel, but
Oh
I hate
yeah,
him.
oh yeah. He's really fun on when he shows up on Screen Junkies too.
That's what I'm saying. He's a nice guy. I like him, but he's so miscast as Flash Thompson. So
Oh,
he's
I know. It's.
the what I'm saying is I think
I also feel like Flash Thompson is problematic because like you cannot do this version of Flash Thompson as Venom.
yeah, the trippy thing is that the Flash Thompson in an Amazing Spider-Man, he actually in the first the first one because he didn't bring back in the second one.
The Amazing Spider-Man Flash Thompson was like hands down one of the best things in that whole freaking mess of a series.
That's what I'm saying that like that series, the Mark Webb series, it did have its moment. The Amazing Spider-Man series did have good moments, and Flash Thompson, like the montage from the second one, you have really good qualities like that there. And again, it's like you could always glean things from each trilogy, or like soon to be a trilogy. I don't know. The point is in the past, and you know what I mean. The franchise, the other franchise, always like things you can glean.
Franchise.
Now we have that character in this movie. That's very perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, a few things to hit with Ned. We'll be coming back to him a lot, but Ned, they do this thing in this movie here, where of course we have characters. Initially, this bugged me. I saw they were going with it when after that first watch. Like, oh yeah, of course they're going with it. A lot of our characters are without last names, and apparently that was intentional because we have Ned, who people have interpreted. Okay, is he Ned Lee, who becomes the Hobgoblin? Is he Ned Lee? I'm sorry, Ned Lee, or is he Ned Leeds, who becomes the Hobgoblin, or is he the ultimate character who befriends Miles Morales, traditionally Genki?
I mean, I definitely think he's more in style of Gank.
Exactly. Oh yeah, Genk.
Yeah.
Also, a little fun fact: he wears a wig. Did you know that?
No, I didn't, but I can see that because his hair is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I love the high school characters. I do like. Though. I mean, I love Liz. I mean, Liz Allen was one of my favorites from Spectacular Spider-Man animated show.
To me, Liz, it's like there's nothing wrong with her, but it's just not really. I don't think she and Peter have enough screen time together.
All I'll say is I think they adapted her well and kind of doing like the nice girl adaptation. I like that. Now Michelle was cool.
I do like that she's she's proud of being a nerd. That's an element of her character I like that they incorporated.
Yeah. Okay, so here again we have the unglamorous kind of Superman transformation in the alley with Spider-Man here.
Be proud.
Yes, well, it's a much faster suit up than Deadpool's. Again, one that possibly got Uncle Ben killed, but we can't confirm.
Right.
Peter, if you can take, I'm leaving you this phone message like an Amazing Spider-Man. If you can take one lesson away from life,
oh my God.
Why didn't I call 911 with this phone? Secondly,
okay, you know what? Let's. I'm sorry. I hate to mess on this point, but let's talk about Uncle Ben for just a second.
Well, we can save that for later, Dave. There's a bit with it later on. Let's save it for that.
Okay, fine.
I'll remind you of it. Don't worry. I want to talk about it too. But this is cool. This is a great little sequence of Spider-Man. This is a class. This is my bread and butter with Spider-Man.
This is definitely one of the best sequences in the movie, I think. It really shows the I feel like it shows what they were going for with a Spider-Man that we've never really seen, because this is like the definition of friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Exactly. Okay, and this right here, this flip here about this, I just want to let you know, Tom Holland, another like perk of him being cast is that in real life he's a gymnast and a trained dancer, so he's doing a majority of these stunts. Like he does have a stunt double, but they choreograph stunts with him in mind, basically what he could feasibly do. So there's a lot of factors in there. Okay, this is here's a fun cameo. I always love it when I keep thinking of this great painting someone did of Stan Lee, almost like a Warhol thing. Stan Lee kind of glaring at Spider-Man, all like like a parent like kind of scolding their child, and we have that. Don't make me come down there, you.
Don't make me come down there.
And of course, we see him like, oh, Marjorie, as your mother. This is not a good old Stanley. I wish Stanley was in everybody's neighborhood,
You know, I feel like this is a cameo that just like it would have been number 11 on both of our lists of the top 10 Stan Lee cameos. Like it barely missed out.
Well, I told you that was one of my reserves. If I needed to kind of parlay one, I would have used
Uh-huh.
it. So it was close. Oh, I want to mention this. So I love this, and this reminds me of some of my favorite Spider-Man runs from the Romita Jr. art style on Spider-Man, like J. Michael Straczynski and John Romita Jr. They did these great poses of, like Spider-Man in New York, in the New York setting, like eating stuff, and they have his mask pulled up halfway and just be like kind of sitting like this. Like there's an issue where I think he was eating hot dogs with Loki, or like hot dogs with Captain America once. So they pulled the idea, like he was like chatting with Captain America once. I think they were eating hot dogs, and like I don't know, they mixed a few things there. Anyway, what's really cool here is that Tom Holland and the director and John Watts, they watched all the previous Spider-Man movies and they nailed down what poses had not been done before. So they figured out some new cool Spider-Man poses to do.
Uh-huh.
To kind of get us like that little, like him sitting off the side of the mask half up and like kind of like standing on the side using the wall crawl and all neat stuff. And again, Tika, more bread and butter. Here's like what I wanted to see. This is like my wish list stuff I want to see. Spider-Man in the MCU. Okay, we can use the Chitauri tech and what they're using here real quick. I love how you can track almost all this technology here. That's Ultron in Age of Ultron. He could use like a gravity thing with his arm. That's what they're using here to rip the ATM out. It's like the gravity effect from the Ultron arms. And there were a whole bunch of Ultrons that were destroyed, so they could all do this. Or Spider-Man just kind of battling again small time stuff with a tie to our main plot of the movie with the technology. So it's all kind of nicely woven in there. So it's
This
classic.
thing with Avengers Robbers was one of the smart things, one of the few smart things that this movie did with the marketing was highlighting this scene.
True, and again, it's a great kind of omen visually. What his issue is that he's kind of combating his need to be an Avenger. So visually, we're doing that.
Dragon, again, like this is like one of my last chances to get these like Infinity War wish list things in while I can. My big wish list thing is that somehow Spider-Man stopping the Hulk is what gets him the honorary Avengers membership.
Right. Okay, now this is great. This is one of my favorite moments in the movie. One of them, because there are a lot of really good moments here. But I love just kind of being this one. I think we do have some pathos in moments like these here, where Spider-Man, he's in the middle of like kind of like a like a fun kind of high octane sequence, and then of course the severity kind of sweeps in. Like, oh no! And again, this is where Tony Stark's goal is being fulfilled here. The little guys in peril here, and Spider-Man knows.
I'm gonna be a dick here and say that he literally just runs into the burning building and runs out. It's like there's like with the Raimi Spider-Man movies, we get whole dramatic sequences of Spider-Man going into these burning buildings.
Okay, come on, that burning building is like a totally different situation. All right, come on, I love that burning building scene from Spider-Man.
Okay, look, all I'm saying is that it's like, yeah, you're right. It is a moment where we kind of pause on it, but it's not as impactful as some of the other Spider-Man movies have been.
All right, well, we'll see some other examples as we go forward, I suppose. All right, let's see. So this is a cool scene. We actually got like a little hopefully a future Phase 4 seed being planted here that Tony Stark is selling Avengers Tower, hopefully to Mr. Fantastic.
Yep.
Oh, yep. My fingers are crossed for. Come on, Sons of the Fantastic Four. They have the opening. Baxter Building, please. But I love I really like the happy. First of all, I love the Happy Hogans with the dummies from the first Iron Man film, which have like a lot of fun nostalgia for. And I love that the dynamic between Happy Hogan and Peter Parker is very much because you at first glance you think, okay, Happy Hogan's just being kind of a prick to Spider-Man now and again, but no, it's like an older brother, little brother thing, just annoyed the little brother's gone all the time. I really like that. I like how it comes to fruition by the end. So on a rewatch, I really like that even more.
My favorite Happy Hogan moment is a moment that I can absolutely relate to because my voice I have a naturally loud voice that projects. So the moment early on in the hotel that we passed up where Hogan's like
really thin walls
here. Dragon, I have been in that exact same position as Peter so many times. I can totally relate to that.
So this is the Parker luck right here. He loses his backpack, and he's caught by Ned. So in the end, the Death Star falls. So it's like this is the classic Parker luck of things going wrong here for poor Peter Parker. But again, he has a new friend. He's got a confidant. So things are there's a silver lining, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the Ned finding out like right off the bat was a smart choice because
Yeah.
again, it's one of those things that differentiates this from the movie. Like just like how I thought the Gwen Stacy finding out relatively quick into Amazing Spider-Man was a smart choice for that franchise.
All right, two things. We're gonna get to your Uncle Ben point one quick second here. I just want to say that we have the shirtless mandate of Marvel here. Okay, it's like the mandate of Marvel. We always have to have our lead actor shirtless. Not
Okay,
even.
it honestly, to me, the biggest offense that MCU Spider-Man has committed so far is they're literally afraid to say the words Uncle Ben.
Now, I'm in agreement with you. I'm just saying that I will defend it to a point, but yeah, it's a shame that they're afraid to even address. They should have the confidence. Just that they can at least say the name. All right, you can say Uncle Ben.
I mean, that honestly, to me, that just kind of skating, like that to me is a little bit of a slap in the face as a Spider-Man fan because Uncle Ben is like, he is like the foundation of Spider-Man. He is the rock of Spider-Man. Like, you don't just push Uncle Ben off to the side like that in like a one-off line.
They're
Like,
terrified.
that really rubbed me the wrong way in the theater. Like, I've softened on it, but it still is one of the things in this movie I'm really not a fan of.
Here's the thing: they're afraid. They're definitely afraid of two things. They're afraid of saying Uncle Ben, and they are afraid of again what connects Uncle Ben with great power comes great responsibility. They're terrified of all the umbrella kind of hallmarks of Uncle Ben. And Tiki and
Which
I would do like a
frankly I just don't get because Spider-Man's an institution and it's like are you gonna make a freaking Superman movie and not have the whole like truth, justice, American way? It's like it's ingrained in the character.
I will say this, Tiki and I we did like a Christmas in July pitch for Spider-Man. I think it was Christmas in July. We did a holiday pitch for like a for Spider-Man the
Yeah, it
MCU
was
Spider-Man.
Christmas in July.
And I remember I pitched Hank Azaria's Uncle Ben, like a real New Yorker Uncle Ben. It was,
Yeah, that would have been. Oh yeah, I could see that.
and I kind of corrected the Uncle Ben thing in my thing there. I wanted basically kind of like let's address it, but do like kind of like a little flashback story somewhat.
Uh-huh.
Basically address like she by the realization she has at the end of the movie, like him basically using Uncle Ben as a way of explaining it to her. It's kind of my pitch was. So again, I'm hoping that going forward they fix this and they say Uncle Ben, they get over their fear. But if they don't, you're right. It's just a continuing problem. It's like why?
Okay, Dragon, continuing on that same trend of like characters that we haven't seen yet in the MCU. Now we've been teased a lot of surprise cameos in Infinity War. How fucking amazing would it be if J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson graces our screens next Thursday?
Oh yeah, that would be.
I would lose it, Dragon. I would be like, have all my money. The $1,000 I'm saving for Cedar Point, have it. Just take it. Take it. You deserve it.
Here's fun. We kind of glazed over scene with Aunt May. I just wanted to say that so far I like Marissa Tomei. I think I'm liking her more the more time I get with her. But a little fun fact: the movie working title, like they always have like a secret title so people don't hassle them when they're making the movie. The working title was a reference to Marissa Tomei and her work on Seinfeld. They called it Summer of George. That was the film's working title. Because she had a really memorable cameo on Seinfeld where George Costanza actually met her and like she liked them, like they kind of fallen in love for an episode. Anyway, let's see.
Okay, so this dead montage, I like it a lot. Oh wait, hold on, we have to talk about this.
Okay, so I adore how we use Captain America in this movie.
Of course, everyone does. It's great.
So here's the thing: I love that post Avengers, and that's what the idea is. Like this is, I have only read it one way too. The post Avengers, Captain America did these PSAs out of guilt for Coulson. Like Coulson wanted to be like basically he's guilt for like not signing Coulson's cards.
No, Dragon. To me, I'm sorry. Like that's a sweet notion, but my headcanon is that it's a court mandate. Like it's community service. That's my headcanon.
Look, that's not bad. I mean, it's not bad. I still think it was like again kind of like the original USO show that he used to do. Like again, it was out of like, hey, I'm helping with patriotism, and it's helping the cause in some way. It's like what? It's like coming back and kind of putting myself in the world, kind of like being the symbol to what I was to Coulson back in the day. That's kind of Anyway, but I love that it's they actually shot more of those for the Blu-ray, and you can watch them on YouTube. You can look into them. They shot for more like about nutrition and going to the library, Fourth of July safety, like stuff like that. So it's really fun.
Dragon, I'm still dying for our good friends at Super Academy to do this equivalent with Captain Cobalt.
Yeah,
Or
and I
Commander
love that
Cobalt, I mean.
Captain America is so much better than the president's fitness test because again, it's a better measure to judge everybody by, like the fitness of Captain America.
Right.
And again, last thing I'm going to hit there is what I was saying earlier on because I love it's thematically it's a visual symbol of how thematically, while it is funny, thematically it's about Spider-Man being the next Captain America and Iron Man blend, like in the blend of both kind of iconic heroes. Again, it's like showing that he's coming into his own, but still in the shadow of like these big kind of giants of heroism in the MCU.
Uh-huh.
So this is the thing with Ned. I'll give you this. This is the one part of Ned that really kind of bugged me. Like, yeah, Ned's kind of he's kind of blurred out the secret just now. It's very irresponsible.
Okay, you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that because that's one of the things with Ned I'll defend because it's such a realistic high schooler thing to do.
And again, that's what I lumped in with. See, that's what I'm saying. The subjective stuff, like the high school stuff, and I guess I differ on that because that's the one example, but I would lump it, I guess, into the high school thing. Some things grab me, some things don't. Like, yeah, it's what high school kids do, but I don't know. It's a bit of a buy. At the end of the day, I'll give it. It's a nitpick, and it's like it doesn't make the movie worse or terrible or anything. It's just like what? It's just like I don't know. It's not quite my thing, but I'll let it's
all right.
You know what's funny? I have a fun comparison for Ned. Ned, I think in a scene later on the elevator, later on, Ned sounds exactly like this. I love that Ned essentially is Peter Parker's Fozzie Bear.
God.
Think about it. He is kind of Fozzie Bear for Peter, especially in the elevators. You'll see when he says, "Oh, sorry, sir." It sounds like like Bear, drive the Studebaker. Yes, sir. I'll get there. So again, I'm iffy on as they're entering the party. Again, iffy on the high school humor, especially in that earlier scene in the gym with the whole F Mary kill thing. Like, come on, that's a little. Yes, it's high school.
Yeah, that was that I was not a fan of that.
So that's what I'm saying. I think it's kind of a litmus test. You're not wrong, and I'm not wrong. It's just it's how much kind of like high school nostalgia and memories type thing. Like it is. Yes, it happened, but do we like it?
Okay, well, you know who we do like?
Who do we like?
Michelle.
Yes, we do like Michelle.
Because we kind of skipped over a couple of her scenes.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think I mentioned her once, but yeah.
She was such a fun surprise addition to this movie, and honestly, she's one of my favorite elements of it.
Yeah, like here's the thing. I like Liz Allen because I know the Liz Allen character. Michelle was just like she was I'll say Michelle's superior over Liz, but Liz was just like consistent with what I was hoping for. And Michelle, she's fun. She is. Here's the thing. We're going to get to a point by the end. We're going to have to see does she fit the mold of the character they're trying to mold her into. But I give it a chance. I'm saying because she won me over so much in the beginning there. But you know what? Yeah, she is quite fun. She's kind of like has these fun one-liners, and she's got a flair to her. I'd give it a chance.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So again, that Tiki, this is like classic. There's a classic Spider-Man scene. There's a classic spectacular Spider-Man animated moment here of the high school ego. Basically, he wants to show off in high school, but he hesitates for the right reasons. I love this.
You know what, Dragon? This is the single best moment of pathos in the movie for me, I think.
That's what I'm saying. While we don't have pathos in like the dramatic sense that we had in the Rain movies, I think we have smaller moments of pathos like that all throughout the movie, though. That's what I would argue.
Because this is a genuine sacrifice that Peter's making right here.
Yeah, it's like the more personal sacrifices versus the more grandiose sacrifices. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm saying different sacrifices.
Okay, so can we just say for the record that literally every second that Flash Thompson's on screen in the party scenes, I just want to just strangle him.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, so just getting to this scene real quick, I just want to say again, I love that while he's running across the grass and the golf course and everything. Again, doing stuff with Spider-Man we never see, and some logical questions. Like, what if there aren't any buildings around? So yeah, he's gonna run into him.
I just want to quickly address that. Like, that is fun, but I feel like the movie almost leans too heavily into that philosophy because God damn it, Dragon. I just want to see some classic web swinging in this movie, and this movie does not have enough web swinging for me.
I think we're just building it up to like when we get to Infinity War and other stuff. I think we're earning that. We're kind of starting off in a different place to get to the again. He's going to go through like a big heroic kind of. I'm losing the word here, but he was going through like a big, a big like kind of separating the boys from the heroes moment in Infinity War. So then we'll get more iconic, like, hey, now he's a full-grown Spider-Man. Now he's swinging from buildings and Times Square and such. There you go.
I mean, I definitely think, yeah, for sure, but that doesn't change the fact that in this movie, I'm missing those things.
I take it as a change of pace, but I see. Yeah, I take your point. Okay, now this little sequence here, we're establishing our bad guys, our shockers. We do both shockers, which I was very impressed by, and it's more of a, I'm pretty sure it has to be a spectacular Spider-Man reference. And a little bit, everyone loves that animated here, so it has to be. That the main shocker we're dealing with right now, he was in Spectacular Spider-Man. He was a different character who took on the guise of the shocker. And it was cool. It was Montana from this group called the Enforcers, who became Shocker. And the other guy, he is in the comics traditionally the Shocker. So we did kind of like the multiple guises of the same costume. So I was definitely impressed by that. And again, all the technology, all how you can trace it all, like the Shocker gauntlets in this, we get the logic of those are Crossbones' gauntlets that he's beaten Captain America up with in Civil War, and they've been retrofitted into kind of electrical impact things.
So what I like about that, Dragon, is obviously I'm not as big of a gadget guy as you are. Like, you kind of pride yourself on your gadget knowledge, which is cool. I admire that about you. Yeah. But you can definitely pick up on those finer details of the references and Easter eggs and stuff. I really can't, but I enjoy the technology of it just as much. So it kind of works both ways.
Yeah, like Donald Glover of it all, real quick, because right now we're doing some great Ferris Bueller homaging.
Yes.
Which is fun. I did appreciate. Some people say it's a little on the nose with the movie going on too, but come on, why not? You're only gonna do it once,
I don't mind it. I really don't. I mean, if Deadpool could do a Ferris Bueller thing, this can do a direct Ferris Bueller thing.
That's what I'm saying, folks. I mean, come on. But with Donald Glover, all real quick, because we're going to talk about him later on, especially. But I love that we set up some Prowler stuff. Like, they're talking about selling climbers, like, anti-gravity climbers, so you could scale buildings and steal stuff. That's what the Prowler. See, the Prowler was a villain turned anti-hero. And that's essentially what they're going to do with, at least what they should do with his character. So again, we're seeding those little moments with them. So I love that. Again, there's like all these little breadcrumbs, lead them away.
Okay. Single worst moment of the movie, would you agree? Right here.
When
I say penis, you say Parker.
I think we're off sync.
You know what? We probably are, because I hate to say it, but my copy has been lagging a little bit.
Because I'm in the middle of all the Vulture just kind of, it was like dropping them from the sky right now.
Oh dear, we're really off sync. Oh man,
yeah,
literally just caught him.
Well, to get to the Iron Man rescue, and I'll cue you in, I guess. But
get to the Iron Man rescue.
He just fell into the water. He's fell into the water with the parachute.
Okay, but what do you mean the Iron Man rescue?
Well, Iron Man shows up and lifts him out of the water, like right now. Yeah, right there. He just dived in the water and he
Okay, now he's drying out his suit. He's on the playground.
Okay, well, hold on now. We're not there yet. He's bringing him there. Sorry about this, folks. Okay, now he's swinging out the mask. And he's on the playground. Okay, we're about to get the heater line. All right. So, how'd you find me? Did you put track in my suit? I put everything in your suit, including this heater. So now.
Okay. I think we got it.
We're close enough. All right. What was I getting? So, okay, just to backtrack a smidge. I love how the Vultures came out of nowhere, and again, I love how we put Spider-Man in a very Queens setting, like houses in Queens, which again is kind of classic. The early Spider-Man comics, he would climb back into his house in kind of suburban Queens.
Dragon, it's great for a sequence. I just wish the whole movie wasn't like that. The whole movie kind of feels a little confined because of that.
I'm going to make an argument when we get to Act 2, but we'll put up with it.
Don't get me wrong. Outside of the road trip to DC, which is a nice diversion.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we repeat it because again, we think we do DC and then we do we'll see how we go when we get to the third. Maybe I have a point. Maybe I'm overlooking
And I will say, for me, the third act is like this again. No bad stuff in this movie, but maybe it's because of the trailers, the damn trailers that gave everything away.
Yeah.
But the third act is kind of like my least favorite of the three.
Right. So, a little fun fact. So, Iron Man's sporting the Ultimate Armor finally, and again, not believe me, the Ultimate Iron Man in the comics is well, the Ultimate's Iron Man. I don't know whoever wants to argue semantics, whichever. Ultimate's Iron Man. He's terrible. He's
Oh,
he's
really? Really?
so bad. But I like that they pulled the suit so they can kind of say, hey, there's definitely an Ultimate vibe in Spider-Man, so we might as well do like the Ultimate Armor with him.
Uh-huh.
That's cool. And again, I love how I like how Tony Stark's not necessarily without blame here. And again, I like how in doing this moment here where he says, Vulture, it's not for you to handle; it's for other guys like the Avengers. You guys, no, smaller people. In saying that, what he's implying is that the Vulture kind of has a point that he's the Avengers are at a point where they can kind of overlook things, and Iron Man's not quite realizing that. You know what? We need. Again, without acknowledging
Wait, hold on. This is the worst moment of the movie. I skipped it.
Right, yeah, he's on the phone right there. Here we go.
Worst moment of the movie. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's
just the single. If you could pinpoint one terrible moment, it's that.
I would agree with you. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I hate to like jump on it so much. It's this Flash.
I'm agree with you. It's horrible. Again, Flash Thompson. He's the only thing. Honestly, he's the only thing that really kills the movie for me in places. The only thing.
Yeah.
In places. So a fun fact about the Tinkerer. So the Tinkerer, I love the Tinkerer, by the way. I love everything we do with him. And I love how he's a good setup for the future.
I vividly remember when it was announced that he was going to be in the movie. I was so afraid because I was like, oh no. Oh, we're doing the Spider-Man 3 syndrome all over again. We're going to have the Vulture. We're going to have Shocker. We're going to have Tinkerer.
But Tiki, what they did is they did it the way I've been wanting to see them do it for years, where we could have smaller villains be in the movie without them taking the line. Again, Vulture is our main villain. Everyone else is like, Shocker. He's like either an ancillary, or in this case, he is like a lower tier villain that works for the Vulture. Like small timers. And then again, Tinkerer.
It works out like it's basically kind of solving the problem of how do you do multiple villains in a superhero movie.
Absolutely. And the Tinkerer, believe it or not, Tig, and I love the deep cuts in this movie here. If you really know your Spider-Man history, the Tinkerer appeared with the Vulture in the second issue of Spider-Man. Like again, he was there.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Like he was there from the beginning, and there are deeper cuts as we go further, man. I'll tell you, or the early Lee Ditko. Again, while it is very Ultimate, all the high school stuff is Ultimate Spider-Man, but all the villain stuff and all the the deep cut, events and villain stuff that's pulling from really early Spider-Man. So again, this is what I'm talking about. What I love about the Vulture. Again, I love that he's almost as smart as Wilson Fisk, but again, scaled to an Ant-Man level, where he's very.
I just love. I'm sorry, like costume design wise, I love that jacket on him, and he's just he rocks that jacket, man. Keaton rocks that jacket.
What's really cool, and you're right, the jacket's awesome, but real cool, when they were figuring out the Vulture, what they did is they kind of, in figuring out, they looked at the Vulture character, and he's like, how do you make that cool? How do you make like a guy in an old man in a wingsuit cool? they scaled it back. They worked backwards. Like, okay, well, he's needs to be intimidating like a Vulture. So again, basically, what if we take the wing idea and how do we make the wings practical and kind of make them scary? And we kind of pare it down to, okay, well, you need in the modern day not just being Falcon, because the guy can't afford to be Falcon. The guy can't build like the government tech of Falcon. So he's got to make it like a giant like a jet engine.
Importantly, in the comic book, it wasn't even like I mean, I'm sure in the comic it was still technology, but it was very much masked to be like,
it was like
actual Birdman.
Essentially, it was a backpack with like glider wings on his arms. That's pretty much what it was. He has like a backpack has like an engine or like an anti-gravity thing, and then like the wings would he'd steer. It's like the Daffy Duck cartoon. Remember, like puts on the
yeah.
Essentially, that's how it worked, but he could have like an engine in there. So we're talking about a lot of great stuff here to cover. And this seems one of the big kind of hallmarks. Like again, why the Vulture's cool. So again, he's a guy, he knows his operation, and the Shocker here. Again, the cool thing about having multiple Shockers, like we're doing here, is you could always replace them. And we got our cake and eat it too with the Shocker, and in killing him by accident. I love that he kills him by accident because again, our guys here, he's not. He's
kind of like an Ultron claw moment.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. He's not killing indiscriminately. He's not an idiot. He's not a psychopath. He's not a bloodthirsty monster. He'll kill if he needs to, but he's not. he's not impulsive like, again, I mean, in a negative way. He's not like an impulsive Wilson Fisk who has like all the clout that he can kill someone. He's smart. Like, I don't want to draw attention with like people disappearing and dead bodies.
Uh-huh.
So he's trying not to kill people too, but he just by accident he just atomized the guy. Luckily, no evidence trail, but he atomized the guy. Wait, I thought it was the gravity gun. No, it's the disintegrator. Oh. So again, just Keaton, he does it for me. Believe it or not, he almost the reason we heard conflicting reports of the Vulture back in the speculatory days, like, hey, we might get Keaton as the Vulture, is because he was shooting the Founder at the same time, and he almost didn't make it. But the shooting schedules kind of aligned, so he could do the Founder and
Oh
this.
yeah, I remember when. Yeah, I remember that it was kind of up in the air for a long time.
Yeah. And again, also I love with the real quick with that Vulture scene too. I love that we do the thing that we've done now with the X-Men films, where we're addressing the ridiculousness of things, and we can earn them by just addressing them for a moment. Where the Vulture says, what are you doing putting on this stuff? You put calling yourself the Shocker. I'm the Shocker. I shock you. What is this, pro wrestling? That line is like perfect. That's all you need, and you can get away with stuff like the Shocker and all these personas as long as you address it in a line like that and earn it. Like,
while Cisco is sitting in the corner and he sheds a single tear.
I love the directing on this scene too. Like Ned just like in a very high school stage, like turns like left.
This is my single favorite comedy moment in the whole movie right here. Is this one like Asian kid like, hey, what are you doing? Nothing. What's up with you? Yes.
I love Tiki.
It's so obscure, Dragon. It's just I love comedy like that.
Here's what's funny. That kid comes back at the end in a very funny moment. Just remember that kid. Remember the chess kid.
Okay.
It's really funny. Here we've got some good tension here. Like he's under the desk, he's going to be found. But I really love this. And again, these are like the old pools, like I know from my nostalgia, Spider-Man from the '90s show, from the '90s Spider-Man cartoon. The Spider Tracer. I love we do the Spider Tracer on film, fine, because for years we never again. Sam Raimi, back when they were in the Raimi films, they were definitely afraid of doing the technology because it'd be kind of a hard again back pre Iron Man, pre the days where we could just kind of offhand like.
What's ironic about that is I strongly feel that we'll get into that when we get into Karen, but I honestly strongly feel that this film relies a little too heavily on technology.
I still gotta I think they do something in the writing. I think they earn that, but we'll get there.
All right.
So I mean, yeah, this is it's cool. Like like the spider light. We're doing like all like basically the belt with the web cartridges. We're doing kind of like all the classic Spider-Man stuff that we can now kind of get away with. That Raimi again. It was bear in mind, if I was not just putting it all on Raimi, like he didn't have the balls to do this. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that Raimi, he's trying to simplifying the story. Okay, we do the organic webbing. That was what was done in some current Spider-Man stories over the time. Heck,
by the time we defend the organic webbing in those movies to the death.
I mean, that's the thing. The organic webbing, believe it or not, around the time we were doing Civil War in the comics, which is like a few years after when Raimi was doing that. So again, like within the similar years, I think they brought it from the Raimi movies into the comics, but I could be wrong. But the point is, organic webbing was something they were bringing into the comics. They were trying to streamline it too, so it wasn't completely crazy with that idea. But it adds the drama of the story. Like if he's web slinging, he runs out of web fluid. There's something interesting. Oh my God, he's falling without a parachute. What is he going to do?
Mm-hmm.
The drama of it all. There's your pathos.
So of course, now I love the teacher kind of just standing up. Flash right there.
So another thing with Flash Thompson. So here's the reason. I want to make it clear, folks. I'm not poo-pooing Flash Thompson just because he's all modern and high schooly and cruel and stuff. No, I'm not poo-pooing him because of that. I'm poo-pooing him because here's the thing: he's no threat to Peter Parker at all. Because that's the thing you need with Flash Thompson. He needs to be a threat to him on some level. I know times have changed, and I'm not saying we can't have a new modern version of Flash Thompson. But here's the thing, though. Here's what they should have done.
Good direction to go with this Flash Thompson.
I think I know what you're going to say. You're going to say if he was intellectually a superior, like a rival for him, like someone who could rival Peter Parker in some way.
I mean, yes, that definitely, but I think even more importantly than that, what would have added real tension to it is if he was so intellectual that he was the one kind of pointing out, like, hey, Peter, you seem to go missing an awful lot, and then Spider-Man seems to show up.
And see, the cool thing is, Flash Thompson, classically, he's a huge Spider-Man fanboy, and we can kind of tie some stuff up with that. But missed opportunities there. Okay, now I gotta address this because I've talked with some people, and they've always pointed this. They've always been a stickler for the suit thing here. So I want to make it clear: people have interpreted this as Ned is hacking the suit. Here's the thing: he's not hacking the suit. I want to make that clear. Okay, well, at least my read on it has always been Peter. Peter, who again, he's a Tony Stark in the making, essentially. He knows this. He knows, he's taking a read at the suit. He's probably prepared. He's primed and ready the thing on the computer. So while he's doing this, Ned is like looking at Ned. Ned's no slouch, but he's not a hacker. He's just reading off he's giving the readout to him right now. He's like maybe typing what he's telling him to do.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, exactly, dude. He's no lecturer. But you know what I mean, though, right? It's like, Ned's not doing all the legwork here. Peter, like, again, we saw he knows like where to look in this suit for the wiring and the tracking.
Okay, so Peter, Dragon, Ned being the one who's the hacker in the scene is not the sticking point I have with the scene. Let me just address that.
Oh, well, you're talking about the Karen thing, right?
Yeah, actually, the Karen thing's not going to come up just yet, is it?
Well, no, not yet. I'm just saying, like, what's the issue?
Okay, I just Karen as a character and as a concept works. The idea that Spider-Man has all these free range of everything and he can do anything that does not work. I hate that. That was another thing that kind of personally offended me as a Spider-Man fan.
All right, I'll make, because we're getting to it right now with the whole Karen thing, but here's the thing. One, of course, I agree too. Karen, the personality in the suit, the AI in the suit, Karen's fun. And Jennifer Connelly's Karen, she's, I think she's fun. I love the little real world thing of like, hey, she's married to Paul Bettany, who is Jarvis. And also she was Betty Ross in the Yang Lee Hulk. So, she's got some Marvel credentials that Jennifer Connelly, and then she's quite pleasant as Karen. And here's the thing. Here's what I come down on, Tiki, is that I think I would say they found a way to have their cake and eat it too on it. In that, he does get all the tools, and he gets all the toys in the toy box, yes. But as we see, he gets all that because he's run before he can walk, and he has like the Parker luck in this scene where he's failing miserably because he doesn't know how to work any of it. So it's like still getting. It's like, oh,
yeah, that's solved with a single montage.
Well,
okay. Really quick. Some positive things to say. Here's another scene of some pathos right here.
Yeah. In a life he's kind of missing out on, kind of doing Spider-Man stuff. So I mean, look, the AI. I'm trying to find the words here. I mean, look. Here's the thing. Really, what he gets later on, because again, like the only thing he's really shooting at, that he would have a lot more options with. He's no insta kill. But think about it, everything else that he has here is, mainly it's web combinations, which again he does have in the comics. We just found a way to streamline that. We're like, instead of him mixing various different other sorts of web, like, okay, so Tony Stark kind of helped him interpret what his web theory was. So he kind of gave him all the options. So he kind of sped through that process. He's got an AI, which is basically the reason. Okay, story-wise, the reason he has the AI is kind of the old Robin situation, where like we need to give our hero. It solves the monologuing problem in Spider-Man comics and Spider-Man stories. Where Spider-Man
I agree. I have no problem with the AI. My big problem with this is that here's a general rule of thumb that I have with writing Spider-Man, Dragon. Nothing that you write Spider-Man into should make life easier for Spider-Man.
I mean, even after this, like, he's finding he still has other features he's not worked out yet. So I don't know. I don't think he has. All I can really do is like listen into things. It's still like it's kind of like Arkham game type stuff. I don't think it's. It's a little much, but again, it's. I don't know. I don't think
We're
it's
gonna
much
get into it with. Okay, let's just talk about the progression of the suits right now, because like Iron Spider isn't going to show up until Act 3, like the end of the movie. But I dislike Iron Spider even more.
Really?
Yeah, I hate Iron Spider.
I don't want to. I can't spoil anything for it. I think you might like Iron Spider. That's all.
Oh, I doubt it. I hate it. I hate it.
Right.
To me, it just essentially like to me, again, I'm sorry, Dragon. I'm a passionate Spider-Man fan. I'm a Spider-Man fan before I'm a Marvel fan, honestly. And to me, the idea that basically making Spider-Man Iron Man Jr. is a slap in the face. I keep on using the term slap in the face.
I don't. Sorry, I don't think it's a slap in the face because again, look where we're going to go in the story here with the suit progression. Is that, again, story wise, what I like is that, okay. So in the beginning, he starts off pretty much where he left him in Civil War, where he's Spider Man. He has like the web shooters. He got the whole. He looks like Spider Man. Then with like a parachute built in, like that, most of the advance he had in the first act was okay. He's got a parachute just in case. Act two, what we're kind of getting into here with Karen and everything, we give him the tools in the toolbox. Initially, he's really floundering with it. By the time that he starts to get a handle on things, or he knows what his web settings are, at the very least, then it's taken away from him. Then the third act, we boil him down to where he was even before Iron Man, and essentially the Iron Spider is like that's the again, it's a symbol of like, hey, you're an Avenger, as in you have the easy life. And again, I think as we're going to see, as we allude to at the end of this movie, he's not really down for being an Avenger at the end of the day. He's going to be going for kind of the Spider-Man, again, basically what he was at the very beginning of the movie, only now with various web combinations. So again, I don't really think it's given. I don't think it's really tainting Spider-Man really.
Look, I just don't like the idea of the suit. I'm not saying anything about his character arc. I just don't like the idea of a Spider-Man suit being an Iron Man suit. That's my whole thing. To me, it's just like this AI integrated into the classic Spider-Man design. I can buy a lot more than I can buy like, hey, it's Iron Man but Spider-Man.
Look, I don't think we're really in the Iron Man Spider-Man thing quite yet. I think we're just I think we're reading into like worries about the Iron Spider suit before we really see it in action, which I don't really know how we, I don't know.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'd wait on it. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, we're talking over a really good action scene, so let's kind of switch gears.
I love him calling the Vulture Big Bird, by the way. And again, we're using the phasing tech, and again, this is cool. Like seeing Spider-Man again. While even he's got more tools, he's still kind of floundering on the job, not reading the manual beforehand, and he's again running before he can walk with not having earned the trainings thing like Tony Stark wanted him to do, where he's bumping his head because he's getting too eager and he's been knocked out. So yeah, I think there's a lesson in all that there, and that's kind of what we're exploring here, and what kind of puts him in a kind of in the damage control facility where he's kind of trapped and where he's trapped, and he's forced to kind of figure things out and kind of process everything, kind of again stew on things, and that old classic Spider-Man kind of internal monologue thing. Thankfully, not along with Cameron. Yeah, this is a great location, by the way. I love this.
It's like I kind of picked on this earlier with the whole like, oh, the montage solves everything, but I will admit it is kind of a, it's a clever way to write around it. It's a clever way to be like, okay, that makes sense that he would have a long period of time to practice with it.
Yeah, and I love that we see, through Tony's, again, we get to kind of see what Tony sees in the kid here in this moment, where he sees, Peter Parker is a quick study, He's a quick study, because you got to remember, if let's say you look at like a video game, like playing a video game, learning kind of your strengths and your combinations and everything. That's kind of what he's doing here, and he's kind of making the most out of his time. It's almost, I love the underarm webbing. I mean, say what you will, take whatever gets us that underarm webbing, I'm down for.
Oh, I'm down for that. I'm down for that too. Don't get me wrong. That's definitely one of the things that I kind of fits into the philosophy of something we haven't seen before here.
Yeah. Honestly, okay, I don't want to harp on like the same conversation. I guess the last thing I'll say is I like that. Honestly, the only thing really upgraded with Spider-Man, the suit as is right now, so as we have with the unlocked features and everything, is that you can basically overhear conversations and you can record things. That's it's stuff that it's almost like kind of help stuff that would help like Batman doing his detective work on. It's like it's additional gadgets that Spider-Man again with the spider light and the web combinations. I don't know. It's a little bit of a leap, but it still feels grounded enough, like stuff that helps him kind of save people. So,
again, it kind of goes outside of what Spider-Man is as a character, though. For me, it's like, and basically, like with Spider-Man, it's like when we have these upgrades, it's like, does it fit into like the Spider theme even? Because I really don't feel like capturing those memories fits into the Spider-Man theme. Yeah, maybe I'm just being a little too picky.
Just to mention some Easter eggs we had. I love that we had the Ultron head in that bag full of stuff the Vulture was going to steal. We had one of the various Ultron heads, and I think we had some other cool stuff. Like I remember, like they mentioned, like in the back of the truck earlier on, they had like the black hole grenades from Thor: The Dark World. Which, say what you will about that movie, those black hole grenades were cool.
Uh-huh.
So, and this is the high school stuff I'm digging so much. I love that, I had that TI 8483 calculator. We're using all the trappings of high school and places like that. And like earlier on, he was sitting next to a kid in the JROTC uniform. Like, those are the high school things I remember. Like, yeah, that's the high school experience right there.
Uh-huh.
And hey, also it's the whole DC series. And speak to the whole DC of it all here. I like it. Not DC comics, the whole Washington DC. I love it is kind of sorry, oh yeah, it's it feels like what we're going to be doing in the third act here. We're taking Spider-Man out of his comfort zone. It kind of feels in that way. Let's do some Spider-Man we haven't really seen before, and it's kind of like in the very early issue Spider-Man, which we're going to be borrowing from heavily with the third act. Where Spider-Man, he's going to where, a shuttle's been launched and it's plummeting to the ground, where we're kind of taking him out of New York, we're taking him out of his comfort zone and take him into kind of new heights where we're going to, we don't have him scaling buildings necessarily. We have him scaling a huge structure, a huge monument.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is one of the things that I'll always praise with this movie, is that the Washington Monument sequence is the best use of wall crawling we've gotten in a Spider-Man movie.
Again, it feels kind of like it's an homage while doing something different. It's like a promise of we're going to do the classic stuff. In the meantime, here's something new you haven't seen before. That's essentially the same idea. Like, hey, we're climbing up this giant structure. Again,
I still want to see him swinging. Damn it!
Oh, don't worry, we're going to see him. First, we're going to see him swinging in space. Then we're going to see him swinging back on Earth. Don't you?
It's not the same in space, because you've got all the how does the gravity with the swinging?
It's not. You know what I mean? It's like in that little worm ring thing from the animal. We're talking Infinity War, hasn't happened yet. Anyway. So again, of course, we do love our. I do love Spider-Man saving people, and of course, Spider-Man to save people, we got to put people in danger. And I do also love the intercutting this. Seeing Spider-Man in broad daylight, just again, because there's not a lot of buildings you really cling to. Yeah, he's. I'll tell you what, would have solved a lot of problems, but again, he's just not thinking this way yet. And I love this. I wish he would do what he does in the video game a lot of time, where basically he jumps really high. He shoots a web to the ground. He pulls it like a rubber band almost, and then he can almost like a spring or something. He can basically that's how he could travel a lot faster. But he's this early. Again, this is Spider-Man 8 months into it. Tiki. He's 8 months into the job at this point. 6 months since when he did Civil War, 2 months after Civil War, and he's not quite there yet. I would love to see if they do that, so he wouldn't be just running in broad daylight down Washington D.C., which is a funny image, but. Yeah. Learning as he goes here. And again, he's climbing up, and we address the real danger when he gets up there that, hey, you haven't repacked your parachute. And again, I don't think he's qualified enough at this point to know how to do kind of like a web rescue on the way down. I don't know if he can make a parachute off the cuff. We don't know that. So
that's true. That's true.
He's in a great deal of danger right now. All the little drones in the world won't save him from that. So yeah, we let's see. They really shot this one. It's kind of getting swept up in how cool this visual looks.
Yeah, I really don't have a lot to say about this scene, because it's probably the centerpiece of the movie for me. Honestly, it's there's nothing it does wrong.
I mean, I love, of course, Flash Thompson danger everybody's lives over a trophy coming up.
God.
God, Flash Thompson. And again, if only they made like an intellectual rival or something. Again, they could do something different with Flash Thompson. You just, it doesn't have to be like the traditional bullet. But honestly, at the end of the day, it kind of has to be someone I can believe could if not be like become like the Venom in the military, at least become like maybe even a Venom, just become something, like I could invest in as a character, not just like, man, this guy, I can't stand this guy.
So
Anyway,
to
this
be fair, we do get some fun web swinging in this scene.
there we go, and I love this thing. There's some cool pathos, like Spider-Man saving people type stuff here. I love how one, it's a very well edited sequence. How we get like the very last minute quality of the sequence by the time he makes the save. Like he makes the save at the very last second. That's awesome. But I love how it's a very tense scene. Again, look, that's a kid in over his head, which is what we're doing. And again, even with all the toy and toy box, there's still like a lot of tension here. He's greening the job here. They can't quite hear him, and what he does here is a very brave and bold move. Where where basically he has to kind of go up against men with guns who are going to shoot him because it's their job to shoot him. And it's a great moment of him not only using the underarm webs, but again like risking that to save to save his friends, save people that he kind of put in danger with that with the Chitauri energy core by accident. Again, he's taking responsibility for his actions, one could say.
And best bit of web swinging in the movie right there.
Awesome. That's cool.
I wish there was more stuff like that.
Okay, so this coming up here is the Fozzie Bear line from that.
Oh God!
Where basically says, "Hey, big guy, stop moving around." It sounds just that's why I keep thinking of like Fozzie Bear is dead leads in this movie. In a complimentary way, of course. I mean, here's again a great web sling right there. Right here is don't worry, I got you. Yes. That's funny.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sir, I'm sorry, sir. So sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
about. Yeah, that's totally Fozzie Bear. I can see that.
And yeah, again, this is nice. Like, it's really cool. I'm just kind of putting a little bit of this together now. How he saved Liz Allen again in a way that kind of homages a bit of Gwen Stacy, especially like the Amazing Spider-Man sequence from Amazing Spider-Man 2. How we tried to save Gwen Stacy.
Oh,
kind
of the success. Don't get me started on that stupid hand.
You know what I mean? It was like kind of a little.
I know what you mean. Look, they meant well, but that hand just it's a thing of nightmares, Dragon.
Right. Anyway, here. I mean, I like that we kind of have like a high school courtship in a hero saving the girl that he likes.
We almost get the upside down kiss.
Well, yeah, we do that in more kind of a less cinematic way, in a way. It's like just tell her you are, kiss her, Peter. So again, I love the Vulture here, and this is great. I love how we're foreshadowing all this on a rewatch here. Again, the Vulture's attention is dedicated to Washington, of course, because he has a vested interest in what's happening in DC right now because of who's there. Not just Spider-Man, but of course, his pride and joy is there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we see like the Vulture again. He doesn't want to kill anyone to bring attention or anything, but he'll kill the Spider guy if he's getting in his business and risking exposing him. Again, he's built like almost like a Walter White network in a way, in that he's built like an enterprise that can grow and make enough money that to kind of keep him and his family and everybody's families rolling in dough. And again, as after what we see in the very beginning, again, it's you get where he's coming from. He's got to make money after that essentially damage control stealing his business would have sunk his business. So he recouped that, but that's 8 years ago. So now he's at a point where he's kind of lost sight of things. So it is a question of how much money does he need versus how much is it. He has a business, has like a steady flow of income, and he's done an act. It's kind of funny. You see like an act of responsibility to provide for your family, taken down a path. How long do you keep doing that to the point where it becomes irresponsible? How long can you do a responsible action before you risk putting yourself in an irresponsible position? So that's kind of interesting, I think. Real quick, I love the. I completely forgot to mention this, but with Betty Brant on the morning announcements, I know you remember those morning announcements, Tiki, right? Like the cheesily shot morning announcements in the high schools, right?
Dragon, I was in filmmaking class and we had a morning announcement show that was just like this.
Yeah, I did one of those once. I had did the Joker on there for Halloween.
Oh no!
Anyway, so let's see.
I would pay solid money to get an audio recording of that.
God, I had much more grandiose, elaborate plans with that, but there was. Anyway. But real quick, though, I just wanted to acknowledge this. I don't know if you know this. Well, again, before the little Captain America bit here, of course, the Captain America talking about. So you land yourself in detention. Again, Tiki, I have this suit. I love this suit. I love the Avengers costume. I don't care what anyone says. I love that costume, and I love it. It's the most patriotic. It's kind of the most. It's Captain America off the page in a practical sense versus the USO shows. I've always loved this costume. Perfect for this. Anyway, of course, Hannibal Burr. Barris as the gym teacher, just the most lackadaisical teacher in the whole place. Anyway, what I was saying is that for the daily, they actually considered the Daily Bugle for this, Tiki. They did, but here's the reason that they're still trying to find a contemporary for the Daily Bugle. They're still trying to figure that out. So we will see the Daily Bugle one of these days. They're still figuring it out.
It should be a website.
I know. Honestly, I remember. I think I pitched this to you. I don't know if it was in the Christmas thing. I told you about this.
Really quick. I love how amused Michelle is at her drawing.
Yeah,
like what I love about Michelle is that she's a very sardonic personality, but at the end of the day, like what makes her so lovable is that she finds these really quirky ways to amuse herself.
Yeah. I love the foreshadow in the setup that we had the original costume hidden in the locker, so where no one would find it, and like web fluid and everything. I love that we set it's like kind of a smoking gun for the third act type thing. Like hey, there's something for you. And let's see, where was I going? Oh yeah, so I think I pitched it to you for either I told you about it around the time we were doing the Christmas thing, but I always imagined that there'd be a YouTube page for the Daily Bugle.
I could see that. I mean, it all depends on who you get to play Jameson.
That's true, yeah. But is it? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I guess again, at the end of the day, we all want J.K. Simmons' question. Do we
I'm sorry, it's like I hope against all hope that they don't cast Ice Cube.
Oh God, Tiki, I have faith in humanity that we're not going to cast Ice Cube as J. Jonah Jameson. I'm going to say that much. Anyway, I guess what I'm getting at is that I thought if they wanted to do like a different version, like a more contemporary version, I mean, there is a chance. I just want to acknowledge the possibility. If we don't do J. Jonah Jameson, what if it was like Betty Brant started like the Daily Bugle website or the Daily Bugle YouTube channel?
Oh, I like that. I like that.
And another thing too is that you'll notice in the photos that they do have, and I like that we do have set up for whatever we're going to do with the Daily Bugle. We do have it set up that there are no good photos of Spider-Man, only videos on YouTube. Because they had like an image of Spider-Man like climbing the thing, and that's like it's a really far out of focus shot. And like remember earlier on the scene with Aunt May at the Tide place or like the LARP place, whatever the food place was. The stock photo that the news has of Spider-Man is him coming out of a porta potty with like toilet paper on his shoe. So it's like that's the stock photo they have of him. So it's like they're in desperate need of cool Spider-Man images. So yeah, Aaron Davis. So Aaron Davis in the Ultimate Comics, they took the Prowler, who again was kind of villain turned vigilante, like a thief turned vigilante. It wasn't a bad guy; he was a thief. And they what they did here is in the Ultimate Comics, and what they're pulling here with the Aaron Davis version of him is he is Miles Morales' uncle, and he's kind of the Uncle Ben for Miles Morales. And I'm not saying he's going to get killed or anything. I'm just saying that he's kind of the uncle the important uncle figure for Miles Morales in a complicated family dynamic.
Right.
Honestly, you know more about Miles Morales than I do, so.
I mean, I don't know much. I like the idea of Miles Morales. I'm not really that familiar with him.
I'm hoping that animated Spider-Man film we got coming this year on Miles Morales will change that. Here's hoping.
Well, I mean, we'll certainly learn more about Miles Morales. The question is if it's going to be any good or not.
That's true. So, I mean, yeah, this is good. Again, now taking this like the hallmark Spider-Man. Again, I think this is, I'm going to say this is kind of the point of like, Spider-Man, even with all the technology, you see he's rejecting like the unnecessary parts of it, though, where he's like the interrogation mode. No, that's not what I do. Because Spider-Man, he's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's going to say, Karen, never do interrogation mode again. Because he just relates to people. It's the New Yorker relating to another New Yorker, and that's great. That's wonderful. We show that there.
Mm.
Yeah.
I really love the bye, Mr. Criminal.
See, I love that. Spider-Man again, like your guy was trying to buy, he was trying to buy weapons. He does have a rap sheet, so he does again. He webs into the webs into the trunk. He says, "Well, you deserve that, though. I got ice cream here, man." So again, that is a great set piece. And again, unfortunately, I agree with you. The marketing killed this bit, but
Oh yeah.
it is
Oh,
wonderful though.
big time. I mean, this would have been a great bit if we didn't see any of it in the marketing.
And this is what I'm talking about, Tiki. For me, this kind of makes up for like a Spider-Man film out of all the Spider-Man films we've gotten. And again, promise of more. We're gonna he's on the water. We're doing things that again for like the early comics when we kind of explored more in New York with Spider-Man. We're like, hey, he's going to different places. And of course, let's not talk over the great and powerful Michael Mandow as the Scorpion. Oh my God, Tiki! I told you this when it came out. I love the Scorpion. He's the Spider-Man villain I was dying to see in all these Spider-Man films as an ancillary, like a small time villain. That's all I need, like setup or a small time villain. And we got him there, and we did that here. And not only did we do that, I was so pleasantly surprised. I was like gobsmacked in the movie, like, oh my God, it's not only the Scorpion, but it's Michael Mann now.
Right.
Now, look, I know they're doing. It implies that they're doing the cartel thing with the Scorpion. Which it's not my Scorpion, but hey, Michael Mandow attached. I'm going to give it a shot, folks. The fact that we got Scorpion, I'm sold. I'll see. They're going to mix. I'm hoping they do. They're doing an ultimate approach, but I hope is that visually he looks like basically do what they do with the Vulture and do like a lot of classic touches of the Vulture in there.
Yeah,
In this case, a lot of classic touches of Scorpion.
I've never really been a huge fan of the Scorpion just from a design point of view. I always kind of felt like it was sort of like a lamer version of Dr. Octopus with like the tail versus the forearms. But I know nothing of the actual character behind the Scorpion, so that might entice me more once I dig into that.
Well, they're definitely going with kind of the animalistic. This is a mean Scorpion versus kind of like the more like kind of an average Joe criminal Scorpion, which I was familiar with. But this is going to be like the ultimate one's like a virulent like cartel boss. That's kind of what we're doing here. I don't know if they're going to go full
Honestly,
cartel.
to me, sounds a lot more interesting than just the average Joe.
Yeah, sure. But again, I'm hoping like per that Christmas thing, I'm hoping like if we ever do like a version of a character we've seen before, like if we do Electro, let's do like an average New Yorker, like a young tech guy like Peter Parker has. Yeah, so we got a lot of cool stuff happening.
The one character that I wouldn't mind them redoing from another movie would be just because he's so iconic is Dr. Octopus. I'd love to see what we do with Dr. Octopus.
And again, the only way, again, I don't want to turn this into too much of like what they're going to do with future villains, but with Doc Ock, the only thing I can factor them really doing, Tiki, is they have to basically do Sinister Six and reveal that Doc Ock's like the guy who got the Sinister Six together. That's a way of doing Doc Ock without doing the origin stuff again.
Uh-huh.
Like have the Tinker like working for Doc Ock and have that be the big reveal.
Right.
Okay, let's see. Sorry, folks. A lot of stuff's happening on this cool fairy sequence, and again, the fairy sequence.
I could care less because the marketing just killed it.
Yeah. Again, they killed the reveal, though. I mean, all this action stuff is really cool.
It's like, okay, yeah, we know that the ship's going to split in two. We know that Iron Man's going to show up to save the day. We know that he's going to take Peter's suit back at the end of this. We know everything.
At the same time, T, I think again we're going to rewatch what we're doing now. You gotta take that out of the equation. You gotta see how it stacks up in conception. Like, oh man, this is cool. It's
Oh, did you just say the word stack up?
I don't think did I?
Yes, you said stacked up. Okay,
I meant
what doesn't stack up against.
I meant stack up from the. Okay, fine. What? Stack up the what?
The train scene.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? As in you agree with me?
I mean I didn't mean to compare it to the train sequence because I'm not making that argument. Obviously, it's no train sequence. I'm just saying it's another cool sequence.
Yeah, but it's clearly ripping off the train scene.
Well, to be fair, it's a little bit. It's again not in the intimate, in the personal scale, like the whole everyone kind of like pull him in the cart and the whole the emotional scene there. But I'm saying you visually have like a cool like Spider-Man image of like Spider-Man. This is like the ultimate Spider-Man in over his head image here of like he's holding these webs together. It's like again, had you not seen the trailer, that's what I'm saying. Take that out of your mind and analyzing like, the enjoyment of the scene here. It's like hey, he's holding on to both sides of the ship here. The kid's in over his head. How the heck is he going to get out of this? I mean, again, it's a great Spider-Man image, and again, for like this younger take on Spider-Man, like, oh my God, it's like how the heck is he gonna is he gonna do this? And the other version, again, if you look at Spider-Man 2, it's a very different. Again, it's two different things entirely. This is like a
Well,
bigger
yeah,
scale. Like
I
he's biting off two.
both involve the whole concept of him, like, using his webs and his strength to pull something, and
Well, yeah, this is just a kid in over his head. The other one is like, it's a heroic save. Yes, that's a guy giving his all to save people. It's a different type of scene.
yeah, I can see what you're saying there.
Yeah. Anyway, I do love this though. Just this speak. Of course, we know Tony Stark's coming thanks to the marketing, but
Oh God.
just real quick though, I do want to say I do love that in the scene where Tony Stark he's trying to give him some words of encouragement, saying like, "Hey, what you did in DC." He was complimenting him on the save there. I do like that. He heard the horn, he confused it for band practice. I love that Tony Stark, while he does seem to be kind of like a distant, kind of like use the term like a distant dad, if you will. I do like that he remembers these details. Like he does care about me. He might not show it all the time. He does pay attention to like, hey, you told me you quit band. Happy told me you quit band press. He's listening to all these reports. Again, he does care.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And again, I love Danny Jr.'s delivery here. Hi, Spider-Man. It's just like you sound like, hey, can I get an autograph? It's like something so funny. And again, this is kind of the message of the scene with the Iron Man save is, hey, don't bite off more than you can chew here. And again, you really should have, you gotta don't run before you walk, which is what that whole suit thing is kind of building to. Like again, you gotta go through your paces. But at the same token, I think what we see when Tony's chewing him out in a few moments, Tony's not entirely in the right in that scene. And that Tony, you could have told him you called the FBI. Like again, Tony's kind of playing he's playing mentor, but he's kind of playing more Yoda than Obi-Wan in this case,
Uh-huh.
He's kind of playing it like we have to have kind of a two-way street. Like Tony Stark's being all quirky and like the way we love Tony Stark to be, but at the same time, you got to show some trust. You got to treat Spider-Man as an equal. You can't just like treat him as the kid. You want to treat him as a hero. You can't treat him like a kid. And that's what he's doing here. He's treating him like the younger version of himself, which is making Tony feel like his father. So no one's happy in this situation. Tony's just not realizing that in that scene. And I love this. I love that we see that, just to piggyback off what we did with the Vulture in that scene, I love that Vulture had a line that also echoed what Spider-Man was going through. Like, you're messing with things you don't understand. And saying that, it's mirroring what that whole situation was kind of bred from. Like, hey, you're messing with things you don't understand by messing in my affairs. And hey, look, you split the ship because you mess with my Chitauri cord. Now it's blowing up half the ship. And I love that at the end of that scene, he saved Shocker. And saving Shocker, he shows you, Toomes, he's an honorable guy. He does care about his guys. Like he knows they all have families too. Like unless you're gonna like threaten to expose him to his family, he won't atomize you. But he still, he saved his guy in that boat scene where he just could have abandoned him. By the same token, there's a business side of that. Where like, hey, if I leave that guy to the cops, he'll spill to the FBI if I don't save him. So by the same token, as we set up by the end of this movie, how much of it is an honor code? How much of it is like this guy's cooking up some next level stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, this is a cool reveal. Again, yes, we know what's coming, but this is a good scene. You can't take that away.
Okay, you know what? I do like the moment where Peter's calling him out, like, "Hey, if you would have cared, you would have been here." And then, nope, I'm actually here. It's actually me. I do care.
And again, I love how we're reflecting, Tony Stark's grand plan here, where the grand plan here, where he wants, he wants to make a better version of himself, and he's realizing, what, I might have made someone a little too much like myself. So, and again, you look at Iron Man 1, Tony Stark, he's very eager. He's very, like, he's in the field. He's very, again, he's the guy like slamming into a wall because he can't just wait to like a proper test. He's got to test it all out on himself. And that's kind of, and again, if you really look at the arc of Spider-Man here, again, we're not just like pairing him off with Iron Man, we're reflecting Iron Man in his journey in places. And again, it's a conversation about responsibility, and again, without spelling it out. So again, I like that we do have responsibility thematically in there. So at least we have that. I'm hoping one of these days we can say it without being afraid. Like Jessica Jones said it before
Oh,
Spider-Man.
I
That's
get
just kind of
that again. That's just like why. Just
yeah.
and don't get me wrong. I like when Jessica Jones said it, but
But yeah, I like that it was in that conversation between the two of them of hey, like if all those people died, that's your responsibility. If you die, that's on me. That's my again without saying responsibility. It's what that whole scene's about. So that's a really cool kind of it's a cool end of Act Two. I feel.
uh-huh.
And also, I like that Tony Stark's little mini, his childish revenge was giving him really ridiculous looking clothing from the gift shop. I think I meant to say this earlier. I like how design wise, and I think this helped a lot with like people like casting aspersions on Aunt May. I like how she looks a little older in this movie. That has to be like a marketing thing. Like, yeah, we're getting a lot of well, not marketing. It has to be like a feedback thing. Of like,
Okay, here's the thing with Aunt May. Like to me, logistically, it never made sense to me that she was this frail old woman if she's supposed to be like the sister to Peter Parker's parents.
yeah, I think they finally with this movie, I think they found a good middle ground between what we're doing with Aunt May. We're not going Rosemary Harris. We're not quite going Sally Field. We're kind of in the middle somewhere.
Uh-huh.
This is a nice scene. Again, we're having a nice kind of Peter confiding in Aunt May. And okay, real quick, I want to mention this. We have Jim Morita. Okay, so this is Principal Morita. Now, Principal Morita is the I think grandson, if not descendant, of Jim Morita, the soldier from Captain America: The First Avenger, one of Captain America's Howling Commandos.
Okay, nice,
That's
nice.
and it's so cool to you think about the implication there. You see, like he has like the photo and everything in his office. That's why it's yet another reason we have the Captain America PSAs in the movie because he likes Captain America because it's in his family lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Peter Parker in Crisis, little storm cloud. Okay, now look, if we're I don't want to make this into a like obviously there's no contest if we're comparing this idea to Spider-Man 2, but it's Spider-Man 2 of course did Spider-Man No More very well, excellently. I
Yeah.
like I like that we do a high school equivalent to Spider-Man No More because it's not quite the level of response. I'm not trying to throw out responsibility left and right here, folks. I swear to you, but it's not the Spider-Man in a world where he knows he can do more. This is a world where we have the Avengers, we have other people, we have like a ton of heroes, and again, Spider-Man's at a point where he's young in his career here, where again he's only 8 months into the job, and he's like, maybe I can move on with things, and he's kind of contemplating that for a while before again responsibility rears its ugly head with his big homecoming date.
Okay, Dragon, now that we're getting into like the Act 3 homecoming stuff, this is like a really, really silly thing that I kind of like I knew it wasn't gonna happen, but I was kind of hoping against hope that it was gonna happen. With Homecoming being set in October, I was like stupidly wishing that this was gonna be a Halloween movie.
Tiki, they're saving like a Halloween movie for Green Goblin so they can do the pumpkin bombs. They're waiting for that.
Ooh, yeah, yeah.
They're gonna do that. They're gonna do with like a goblin or the pumpkin bomb. Somehow they're gonna work the pumpkin bomb into Halloween.
Well, I think with the MCU and holiday specials, I honestly think the first one we're gonna get is a Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special because James Gunn really wants to do that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So again, this is nice, and again, it's kind of fun flirting with the idea of again knowing that it has like not like a dramatic, not like a devastating punchline, but kind of like a cosmically funny punchline. Like, hey, Spider-Man can't retire. What are you crazy? Or else we're gonna just like it's like it's Peter Parker in high school. No one wants to see that. I mean, we want to see him be in high school and Spider-Man on the side. We can't just have him throw in the towel. We can't. This isn't Spider-Man no more. It's kind of what the joke is in this. It's like no, it's high school. It's going through a phase. That's essentially what it is.
So one of my favorite May moments is that he instantly goes to her for help on the date. It's like there's a trust there. There's a bond there.
Yeah, and again, we're giving Aunt May stuff to do without her being. Again, nothing against Rosemary Harris. I mean, it's nothing. I love that.
Rosemary Harris will always be my favorite Aunt May.
I'm just saying, Rosemary Harris had all the great scenes and monologues, and she had the great dialogue scenes in those movies. And here we're giving her like things to do versus like having a big kind of a really well written scene with Aunt May. We're just having, okay, Aunt May's proactive. She's doing stuff. She's helping them. They were doing like an 80s montage of May helping prepare for the homecoming, the big namesake of the movie. That's giving her something to do, and that's cool. I mean, again, the one thing we need to address, obviously, May is going to be really important in the next movie. We got to figure out what we're doing with May. So, well, more on that later. Okay, now here we go, folks. Here's the big ticket selling moment here. This is the twist for the ages. One of the most brilliant moments of the film, revealing that Adrian Toomes is Liz's father. My God, and I can't say enough nice things about this scene, especially the scene that follows. But my God, this is brilliant. I found out that on the set of this movie, and I didn't know about this, Dean. This made me respect Michael Keaton even more. Michael Keaton is such an astute actor that he knows how to play a scene, Tiki. What he does is when he's on a film set, at least when he was doing this movie, and I presume when he's doing other movies like The Founder and all sorts of other stuff, this is an actor who, he counts his steps. He prepares. He maps out the scene. He knows like what moments to play, like the knife thing and all these little bits here.
Mm-hmm.
Again, makes you respect Michael Keaton. Like they got the right guy for this role, like a guy who, again, the Vulture is a character they used in this movie. They used him in a scary context where, when the Vulture appears in the suit, in the wingsuit and everything, it's a big humming, scary humming noise. He shows up. He's a guy you don't want to mess with. He takes Spider-Man, again, to what this movie's all about. And what the goal for the movie was, taking Spider-Man out of his element. He as a villain, what the Vulture does, and the reason Vulture was kind of a cool, like, opposite of Spider-Man to an extent, like in Power Set, he takes the spider. He takes a very, a guy who needs surroundings, someone who needs closed-in space, someone who needs things he can grab onto or like shoot webs to, into the sky. And like the first time he defeated me, he like rose him to the sky to drop him. That's a dangerous villain. That's a guy you don't want to go up against. Someone who kind of takes you out of your own when you have nothing to cling on to, or you're in great danger. And that's a foreshadow for the third act. And here, out of the suit, he's just as terrifying and even more Vulture-like. And this is a guy who could kill you if you're on his crap list. If you're on the list of, like, if you're the one guy in this movie, the guy who's careful about killing people, the guy who will kill if it's necessary. You're the guy who wants to kill, and you're right under his nose. And there's a terror in this scene. And of course, as you know, Tiki, full well, this is the classic Spider-Man idea. It's an homage to Aunt May and dating Doc Ock. It's to the villain being so close and like right under your nose and like, right in a personal setting, getting you this great, unfathomable sense of tension. And again, you have a lot of pathos here too. Is that pathos of like, oh my God, he's in so much danger right now. And there's like an underlying sense of comedy, but it's all drama and all like, oh my God, it's so scary.
And this, I think pretty much everyone agrees this car scene is the best scene in the movie.
This, well, it's coming up, I should say. But this is, oh my God, this is.
No, I mean, like, yeah, when Liz gets out of the car and we get to the man talk, yeah, it escalates, but I love all the setup here. I love how...
No, I love it too. I'm just saying there's another bit I'm going to tell you about when we get to the...
Like, my favorite part of this scene is how, without saying a word, we visually see Keaton putting the pieces together in his head.
I love that you can see he full well does not know until he puts the pieces together on this car ride. And we literally have a light bulb moment where the lights change from red to green. And Tiki, it's kind of like in Spectacular Spider-Man, what they did color-wise, like all Spider-Man's villains were green in the color scheme. All the the color of danger in Spider-Man was green because all the early villains had green color schemes. And again, like the moment that green light happens is like, it's not just like a light bulb moment, but it's a moment of like one green like the Vulture, green like the inside HUD of his, HUD of his mask, and green like, oh boy, now Peter is in grave danger. Because now the villain has come out in Adrian Toomes in the scene. He's not just like the alter ego of himself. He's piecing it together with that red glow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I love. Look, by the way, for any nitpickers out there, I doubt there are really as much, but just in case anyone's saying, with the whole last name reveal, and again, this is the cleverness of the last name reveal. Like, hey, we had no last name on her, and some people say, well, wait a minute, her last name is Allen. How do we? Again, the simple solution, the smart solution to anyone out there is, okay, well, it's Liz Toomes, we just changed it. It's fine. But for any nitpickers out there, it's like, okay, maybe Adrian Toomes is her stepdad. All right, so it's Liz Allen, now it's Liz Toomes, whatever you want.
Okay, for the longest time, Dragon, The theory was that it was going to be Michelle Toombs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was like people were convinced of that.
I just want to mention too, because like the whole, I love that Liz in the car. This is like scenes that make me like Liz out. Again, I really think that Liz was really fun, and she was done real well in this movie. I love that unknowingly she's like burying Peter alive in that scene. It's like, oh, you know Spider-Man, don't you? It's like, as an audience member, like, shut up, Liz, you're killing him. Like, Liz, please shut up.
I love Keenan's cocky ass smile in this scene.
The dad talk. Okay, now Tiki, this was the first scene that Holland had with Michael Keaton.
Oh man, what a great first scene to do, right?
And again, perfect for getting them like how he's going to play the other scenes with the Vulture. It's like perfect. Okay, now this is great. I want to say though, I love how it should have ended for this scene. My favorite is just like how it should end. If he just grabs his arm with his super strength and then like punches him in the throat the whole time. Like, hey, there's a gun in the car. Is my favorite. But my God, this is great. Now, Tika, this is my favorite. This is why the Vault. Honestly, now I'm going through it here. This is why I would put him over Eric Killmonger. I love Eric Killmonger as well, and thematically we do like a lot of similar cool things. But at the end of the day, it's what's going to clinch it for Vulture. I love the code of the Vulture here. It's my favorite moment. It's probably my favorite moment of the movie here. The fact that you saved my daughter, and that's something I can never forget. So I'm going to give you a choice here. And it's him giving him the choice. Him giving him. And I think I mentioned this to you like way back when we first talked about reactions or something. I love how in this movie, and again, this is like giving us like the pathos of Spider-Man, moments like these where we're giving Spider-Man a really great moral decision. We're putting him in a position of making a big decision, like is he going to make the responsible choice or not. So we have this and we have the ending, or the two big moments for me. Like this moment here, where it's like he's presenting with the choice of like, hey, you can live your life and just let me go. I'm just let me go. I won't hunt down you and your loved ones, and you can go on with your life. And you just let me go about my business. Don't get in my way. I gave you a mulligan on this. Don't make me have to kill you. All is forgiven. The one-time offer. And again, I love that for what we know later on, he left his phone in that car. Peter knew the decision he made the moment he left that car. It's not like a decision he made on the fly here. And again, it's him and this is kind of the, again, it's not one more day, but it's kind of the cosmic joke of Spider-Man here that no matter what, no matter how he could have a normal life like this, at his core, he knows it's not the right thing to do. He has to, if he can do more, like he said to Tony Stark in Civil War, if you have the abilities to do good things, you should do them. Again, you shouldn't be you shouldn't not be who you were before. Like you can't take advantage of the power, but you gotta do the right thing because you have those abilities. If you don't do something, then the bad guys get away with something. It's not right. What he's doing right here. It's such a well laid out and well constructed sequence in every facet, every level. It's a perfect scene.
Mm.
And again, the last thing I'm going to say with the nitpickers out there, if there are any nitpickers saying, "What if he really offered him a choice? Why is the Shocker waiting for him?" Simple solution. All right, very simple. Adrian, he said he was going out of town for business, as in I'm getting ready for the big heist, which is like a few blocks away. I got to go to the building, get the Vulture suit on, everything, and he was probably going to meet the Shocker there. He was going to meet him there and pick him up, I guess. And basically, as he was driving off, he texted them saying, "Hey, Spider-Man's there. Make sure he doesn't follow me." I guess that's what he texted him or something.
For the life of me, I did not. That would have never crossed my mind as a plot hole.
I mean, I think it's a decent fix. What do you think? She texts him on the way, like, "Hey, you're waiting for me there. I was going to pick you up."
Yeah, it's a decent fix because I wouldn't have considered it a plot hole to begin with. So there you go.
All right. So again, I also love that it's kind of an homage to Ben Reilly, the whole Clone Saga thing with the original Spider-Man suit here. And again, I love the fact that we've had this figured out since that little brief, everyone lost their minds when they freeze framed, oh my God, that YouTube video of Spider-Man from Civil War, he was wearing this. They had it figured out. That's impressive. And again, this is him making fun of kind of the Batman voice. It's kind of a commentary on people doing the voice changer on superheroes and everything, with him putting on a deeper voice, like, "Flash, I need your car."
To be honest with you, this almost kind of redeems the Flash stuff because I love the cut of like, sir, technically this is my dad's car, so I can't hard cut him driving away.
But yeah, that's because Flash ticks us off in the movie. It's like, yeah, take it, Flash. Yeah. But honestly, here's the thing though: if they did it right, Tiki, I feel that if they did, they should have just done Flash as a fanboy, a fanboy who's like, and I rival Peter Parker. I just like I show Peter Parker at every turn. I'm so cool. Yet I love Spider-Man. I'm such a fanboy. Spider-Man, take my car, please. That's how I would approach it. That's how I would.
Well, okay, to tell you the truth, I mean, he is still approaching Spider-Man like he wants to give Spider-Man the car. It's just,
Yeah, I guess you're right. So yeah, I love that Ned gets to be the guy in the chair. I love that we gave that a name, like, hey, guy in the chair, like all the felicities from Arrow and everything. Go like, yeah, we finally gave it a title. And again, this is like Happy Hogan as like the older brother, and Nord like, hey, it's like I'm not even hearing from the kid anymore. I'm hearing from the kid's assistant, like his own Happy Hogan. I draw the line here. This is ridiculous.
I also just love that Ned calls him Mr. Happy.
God. And again, we're definitely playing with the high school age of Spider-Man here, like the driving thing and everything. Not really, he's driven in parking lots, but not not high octane situations like this. Okay, real quick, big Infinity War Easter eggs here. Tony's Hulkbuster armor, prototype for Cap's new shield, and Thor's magic belt.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Oh, can't wait to see that. I'm really interested by a Captain America shield bit because what we know going into Infinity War. I wonder if that's going to be a retcon or if Tony. I'm telling you, T. I think that's Tony's apology to Cap. I really do. But that's my Infinity War spec that he's going to make him a. We know that in Iron Man and Iron Man 2, he had that prototype shield, so I think he's going to retrofit that with vibranium and give that to Cap as an apology.
I mean, to be fair, I'm kind of in the camp that I don't even think we're going to see a reunion between Tony and Cap until Avengers 4.
But... Well, sure. I'm just saying. I think that's in the end. I think that's what that shield thing's going to be. Well, you're right. Whether I'm assuming it's going to be the movie, but you're right. It's probably going to be the next one. Well, I don't know.
Well, how do you feel about the porn gag?
Oh yeah, I hate the porn gag. I hate it so much. Yeah, so honestly, if I had to nail down two things I really hated in this movie, though, again, it's okay, fine. Iffy on I'm just umbrelling all my high school stuff with Flash Thompson. I hate Flash Thompson just because I'm iffy on any high school stuff. I'm iffy on. That's all under Flash Thompson. And the porn thing is like, really, that's a weak sauce. That's the weakest sauce line. Don't come into my Spider-Man movie with that weak sauce. Get that out of here. Get that out of my sight. Chris McKenna, I'm talking to you. I know that was your gag. Get out of here. Sorry, I'm addressing one of the various writers on this movie.
Oh God.
No, seriously, Chris McKenna, he's the American Dad writer. I know that was you, Chris. Get out of here. No hard feelings, Chris. You did the best you could, but still, weak sauce. That was you. Anyway. So yeah, this is, oh my God, Tiki, this is again more reasons why I'm digging the Vulture. I love Vulture. Is that again there is somewhat of a dark Uncle Ben parallel here in that Vulture is not wrong in this scene. He's a blue collar guy. I mean, just to keep rehashing that, but this scene is like at the end of the day, Vulture and Peter Parker are scrappers. We established that in Civil War. Peter Parker, he was dumpster diving for technology. He's a guy who doesn't have access to like the high, the recent stuff, like the new stuff off the line. He's a junker. He's a scrapper. He's a dumpster diver. And as we see with kind of the Icarus kind of trying to remount Olympus story we're doing here with the Vulture, he has a very valid point that hey, the Avengers, they screwed me out of my job. They don't care. Again, what he's saying, I really do think this gets us to our ending, Tiki, on a rewatch. When you really think about it, that, hey, what he's saying to Spider-Man here is, they don't value you. All right. You're just are you a side project for Tony Stark or are you a hero? That's the question that he's kind of posing to Peter, that Peter's going to answer at the end of this movie. Am I a side project? Am I just like, am I just like the little Tony Stark just checks in to see how my progress is as a hero? Does he care?
Right.
And that, you were talked down to by these guys. Like we're not allowed to ascend with these guys because, we're the average Joe New Yorkers.
And it's interesting, Dragon, because like the further we get into the MCU, I feel like the more context is put onto the Avengers as mythological figures, at least like modern mythological figures, which is really interesting given the contrast because that's usually DC's chick, right?
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
So so I know that's just like as we especially like post Infinity War, like I love the line from that Infinity War trailer, Dragon, and I hope they remember you. Like that
Yeah,
to me, just oh man, like that right there, it's just like like people will be singing ballads of Tony Stark and Steve Rogers for decades to come.
and speaking of Tony Stark, I love how Vulture at the end in that conversation they had is that he's very much established that he's a relatable Tony Stark from the first movie, and that he's selling weapons, but the one thing he had over Tony Stark, I guess, is that it was for relatable, noble reasons. Aside from like, hey, U.S. military, right? That's good. Again, he's doing it to support his family. Again, it started off in a noble place, and again, he's confronting Peter with the big picture, and it's interesting.
I got to admit, this is kind of like the adult speech that you need to give high schoolers at this age. Is like, hey, the world is going to kick the shit out of you, and you need to get used to fighting and clawing your way to the top because that's reality.
Real quick before I backtrack one last time to the Vulture things, I want to say, okay, this is a very iconic scene from
Oh
Spider-Man.
yeah,
He
oh yeah.
finally did. This is from Amazing Spider-Man number 33. It was Doc Ock who buried Spider-Man under a bunch of rubble, and he was
When
he
he
was.
get the medication to Aunt May to save her life.
I think that's the same issue. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, there was like a big time crunch there.
yeah. Anyway, so he and of course, he's buried under the rubble, and we have the half mask image, which is another Spider-Man standard here. We finally were able to do on screen. We've never been able to do before. You see half the mask, and of course, half Peter's face. And in the book, I believe Uncle Ben was like the last one to give him the kind of the feat of strength here. And we have Tony Stark kind of saying, are you if you can't, the big line in the movie, if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it at all. Which again, I think is a really good line for this movie. Again, I
It's kind
think
of
that
like a nice, like like Sam's Club version of "With great power comes great responsibility."
it is, but again, Tiki, as we've been kind of going back and forth on through the movie, I think it does tie into an arc with like the evolution of the Spider-Man suit in the movies. That yeah, if you don't, you got to earn the suit, as in he's wearing what his suit is. So that's basically that's not a suit; it's two web shooters and a hoodie.
Uh-huh.
You know. Anyway, last thing, just go. Speaking of Uncle Ben, to tie it into the whole thing, is that again, if Vulture is sort of like an Uncle Ben figure gone wrong, and it's like, what if again, it's almost like an Uncle Ben figure gone wrong in that if Spider-Man went bad after being rejected by Tony Stark in this film, like what if Peter Parker after being redacted by not redacted, being rebuffed by Tony Stark saying, "Give me the suit back." What if he went south and like built his own? Again, he is capable. If he built his own like high tech suit like the Vulture, and he went south, I think there was a potential for him to do that again had he kind of gone down that villainous path. I'm not saying Peter Parker was in danger of doing that, but I'm just saying again, Vulture's kind of opening his eyes to, why don't you do that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Speaking of Vulture, again, here's the big heist, folks. And I really do like this big heist because again, it is kind of again,
I like how it's set up throughout the whole movie, and it kind of like the whole idea of like moving day starts out as a running gag and then evolves into like the main set piece of the climax.
and again, I like how everything connects to this. You're right, Tig. Other things also connect to this. Where again, Spider-Man's now taken out of his element, like he was facing off against the Vulture in the first act. Now he's hanging on by a web, going through the air. He's in the most danger he's been in the entire film. No parachute, no special suit, nothing to protect him. And in addition to that, again, it's that Icarus. Like the Avengers have the almost have I don't want to say the audacity, and that they're not super cocky, but at the same time, I think we're the Avengers. Who's gonna Tony Stark? Who's gonna try to rob me in midair like this?
Mm-hmm.
By that token, it's like again, it's like someone that only someone like Adrian Toome's a guy who is just has that grit, as he says to Peter Parker. We have that grit. We have that they have the cojones to try to pull something like this. Yeah.
Okay, so let's I feel like the climax is another place where we have to talk about the marketing because
Well, the marketing really butchered that, but however, it didn't give away the huge reveal, thankfully. But it
oh god,
definitely gave away like the mystique
god,
of it
can
all.
you imagine if it did?
If it did, my God.
But yeah, I mean seriously, like I just Dragon, I remember one of the most infamous trailer recaps that we've ever done is the trailer recap where we point out, like, you literally point out to me, like, okay, like, we see Peter Parker on the plane, then we see them on the beach with the plane wreckage in the background, and I got so pissed. Dragon, I got visibly pissed on air when I realized that.
You did. By the way, real quick, I love this hot dog moment of all the arc reactors and box. I'm pretty sure that's the box he goes for later on. Like he tosses again. This feels so mythic, and again feels like the like raiding Mount Olympus. He tosses the Iron Man mask aside. You're a fallen idol. Something like that. And again, it's like seeing how mad he gets in the scene. Like again, the kid I gave him a chance here just keeps coming back.
Uh-huh.
Like everything, because again he banked it all on this heist here, and again he's a smart criminal, and that he's been able to get away all these times. He's always had like a fail safe. In this case, he bet it all here on this desperate ploy because he needs that box because Spider-Man kept ruining all of his other jobs. So again, it's a really compelling villain plot in that in a part of you is kind of rooting for the heist. A part of you because again he's been wronged, but he is kind of greedy with it at this point. He doesn't need but he's I don't know. It's a wonderful little complexity out of the Vulture there, I guess. Now of course, the biggie. So Tiga is a huge one. This actually, I was surprised to find this out because I remember the story, but I forgot it was this early on.
Oh, that.
I'm sorry. The the plane going down, of course, references the space shuttle from Amazing Spider-Man. Believe it or not, #1. In Amazing Spider-Man #1, that's when Spider-Man he rescues John Jameson's space shuttle from crashing into the water. He helps the
astronaut.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're doing here. And again, it's like a big kind of homage to that here. Again, we're doing like bigger than life Spider-Man. So, like this is like the big thing I could buy Spider-Man doing that would be kind of like something we've never seen before. It's kind of like how do you? This to me is like their attempt at how do you top the train. This is what their attempt is here. The fairy is again.
I'm pretty sure the fairy was the top the train thing.
I'm saying like this is I think they're a real stab at it. I think that's just like we're going to be compared to the train, but it was a cool image and it speaks to kind of like him being in over his head. And this to me though, this is like the big heroic like feat of strength save though.
I mean, I don't have to. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to say it doesn't compare to the train. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just like the train is like an iconic.
Well, yeah, they buy different stuff, but
yeah,
like seeing.
So that white and orange roller coaster you see in the background, that's a new roller coaster that Coney Island installed in like 2015, and apparently it's terrible.
Oh, really?
The Thunderbolt.
I guess Spider-Man landed in the wrong place then.
For a rough ride.
Yeah. But again, I love that, again, like, he steered like this giant craft, on the beaches of Coney Island to an unoccupied space. Again, iconic New York locations that we had not seen before with that, that big old landing there. And, oh my God, it's huge. It's awesome.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and spoiled the marketing, yes, but my God, is it cool.
I do like Coney Island as the set piece finale for this ride because it's a New York location we haven't been to yet in the MCU, and I feel like it fits with Spider-Man.
Yeah, what's really cool, I like that we have the opportunity to explore more New York locations because, again, New York was a place that, for reasons we'll get into in other stuff, New York was a location that they really steered away from as much as they could in the MCU until, eventually we get Defender. On the big screen, they steer away from it most until, you get something that's unavoidable like Captain America or Avengers. So now we can explore it all we want, not only in the Netflix shows, but, particularly, here with Spider-Man, again, who's kind of our landmark guy who's going to be exploring all sorts of locations in the city once, he's kind of getting into the Midtown district more.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I like that we're doing like this little battle he has with the Vulture here. It's quite scary. And again, like he's dragging him up in the air and throwing him down. He's taking him off his feet, and it's quite dangerous. And the lighting and the fact that again, it's like a vulture kind of came in without a sound because his ears are ringing from the explosion. It's a lot A lot of it's quite intense. But at the end of the day, I think a part of the Vulture, again, I think he admires the grit in this kid, and he doesn't want to kill him, but he has to keep him out of his business.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like Keaton also has the line about how he saved Liz, and he's not going to forget that. Like, there's a lot of complexities here between this dynamic.
And again, Tiki. This is the Icarus image more than anything else. Again, right here, the desperate man trying again with broken wings, like he's flying to the sun right now with the arc reactors. And he's just trying to get away. And I'm going home, Pete. And again, he looks most like the Vulture than he has in the entire movie because he has the exposed head, just like the comics. Big old wingsuit. And Tiki, this is the moment. Again, there are three choices Spider-Man makes in this movie. Three biggies. There's the dance. There's this save, and there's the big one with Tony Stark coming up. Those three, I think, are the big dramatic kind of choices that Spider-Man makes. That we have all sorts of places in the Sam Raimi movies, but here we kind of make it a big thematic set piece in three places. And Tegan, going into this movie, this is the biggest again because of that marketing made me really afraid that he knows who Spider-Man is, which means classic Raimi move. We have to kill him off. And I love Keaton so much in this movie. It's like, no, don't kill him off. Please don't kill him. And I was just pumping my fist in the air when he's saving because one, I love Spider-Man saving people. I love when a hero saves a bad guy. And I love that we did not have to kill off yet another Spider-Man villain, let alone one that was this interesting. So I'm so dazzled and so happy with this moment.
Yeah, I echo everything you said. I mean, that's one of the few real flaws with the Raimi trilogy is that they kind of unnecessarily kept killing off their bad guys.
Also, the Giacchino score. We didn't talk at all about the Michael Giacchino score. Here's the thing: it's not really, it doesn't really stand out. I think except for two places. This, like the moment where he saves the Vulture, and especially the big standout is the Spider-Man theme, where we take the '60s Spider-Man, worked it into like the Marvel opening logo. That was cool. Yeah, I wish. Look, it doesn't have a bad score. Just I feel in a lot of these MCU movies, Giacchino hasn't really been allowed to spread his wings as much as he could have. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that's about. Like I'm dying for Giacchino to get like another, kind of another Incredibles in terms of a superhero movie.
Oh yeah.
Like he needs like a stylistic thing. He needs like to attach to a style. I think the closest he's been able to do that has probably been with Doctor Strange, and that's still.
Well, Doctor Strange was interesting because it was like he was allowed to use like instruments and stuff that you wouldn't really think of with a typical score, but it was still like there wasn't really any memorable melodies in that movie.
That's what I'm saying. Though. Yeah, respect where he's coming from, but we still don't have necessarily a theme. We need a theme. Like Incredibles has a theme, like a main theme that's kind of in everything.
I gotta say, Dragon, hands down, best score in the MCU is Black Panther.
I really like Avengers. I really like the Avengers music.
The Avengers is great, but Black Panther, just all the way around, every track in that thing is just off the charts.
That's a fair point. Well, everyone will be able to rewatch it soon after Infinity War.
Well, I mean, I've already seen it 4 times in theaters, so.
Well, I mean, at the comfort of home, but sure.
What?
I mean, from the comfort of home, but sure.
Sure.
And again, I feel pity for Toombs' family here again for Liz, and again, this is classically how it goes, and that Peter Parker has a lot of love interest, and the ones who don't die usually end in tragedy or like end in tragedy or like end in something like the girl just he can't maintain a relationship, and in this case, Liz Allen is like a girl who. Sometimes she's like a popular girl who comes around to be a scientist. In this case, she's a scientist from the beginning. Like she's a smart girl from the beginning. And in the end, it's like as much as I personally, oh man, I love that Liz Allen. Why can't I end up with Liz Allen? But it's the fact that it's a doomed relationship. We can't have an end up with Liz Allen. It's the way of life. Peter Parker has to have the Parker luck in a failed relationship like that.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a smart decision.
So, okay, here's a controversy. Speaking of relationships and kind of love in Peter Parker's life. So here's a controversial decision, the MJ of it all.
I don't mind it, but I also kind of wish that Michelle was just her own character.
Yeah, Yeah, that's fair. I heard a lot of, for anyone who's like a naysayer of the Mary Jane role, I always interpreted
I
like
think
all
she
the bad.
fits well into the Mary Jane archetype. I think she's like a good kind of modern day interpretation of Mary Jane. But I just feel like the movie did such a good job of attaching ourselves to Michelle, who's just kind of this original character made directly for this movie, hasn't been in any comic books or anything. And we grew attached to her, and I almost kind of feel like it's almost like a waste to throw away an original character like that.
Okay, real quick, chess, that guy. It's the chess guy.
Oh my god.
Anyway, off of the chess guy here, but a nice scene with Happy. I like that Happy was like, thank again. It's like the older brother respecting the little brother. No, you know, it's really really nice. Anyway,
I
was
just love how Happy's just like, yep, I'm in a high school bathroom right now.
yeah. Anyway, was okay. So here's the thing with the Michelle thing is that I feel I like that she does with the snark and with kind of the that sardonic kind of edge to her that we had earlier on, like during like the she has a she's like a non-conform. She has that non-conformist streak in her, which does feel very akin to Mary Jane. Like again, Mary Jane did have that, especially in the early comics. You know, she was a party girl who had like a, you know, she had like a not sass, but she had that non-conformist thing about her. You know, she and I for anyone who's like saying, oh man, why can't they just go full like why can't they make for anyone who doesn't like her as Mary Jane, I'd say give it a chance. That's what I would say. And if anyone just wants to have like just be Michelle, period, I would say the MJ. I feel that they went for like a balance of both. And I think MJ is just their reference of like we're not going to have Mary Jane, but this is we'll keep the nickname alive.
Her name is like Michelle, like,
Jones, Michelle
yeah,
Jones.
exactly.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I can live with that honestly. And again, so we did Mary Jane already. It's a shame though we can't do Mary Jane right. Well, again, this might be the only time they're gonna. You know, I mean, we haven't done Mary Jane properly, but this is probably the closest they're gonna get to. And again, hopefully the idea is like again, kind of having your cake and eat it too. They'll sell us on her more and more as they go forward. Therefore, she'll be kind of like, hey, it's a Mary Jane by you know, while still not technically being Mary Jane. It's kind of like a skirting around great power, great responsibility in a way. You know, they're kind of. We'll see where they go with it. We'll get put in it. You know?
Uh-huh.
So yeah, we're upstate, and this is kind of again, this is very directly an homage to the end of Iron Man, very directly. And again, this is a nice passing of the torch type scene. This is where the Iron Man parallel is very apparent, and it's unclear how far. T, how far do you think he was going to go with this? Do you think he was going to like reveal that he was Peter Parker and say, you don't have to worry about secret identity anymore, kid? You're an Avenger now. How far do you think they're going to go with this?
Ooh, that's a good question. I didn't even consider the whole like
Because I'm saying, you know, Civil War was the whole shebang. Press conference, unmasking Avenger. It's kind of went there.
and there it is. There it rears its ugly head.
See, again, you gotta wait till Infinity War really pass judgment on the Iron Spider suit. It hasn't
It's
even won
Iron
it yet.
Man Jr. It's Iron Man. That's all I'm ever gonna fucking see when I look at that thing. It's hideous.
Tiki, there's something I can't tell you yet, but I know I think you might like it. I can't tell you though.
Why can't you tell me? Is it like I don't care about spoilers as long as it's not who's specifically going to die in Avengers.
Oh. Well, again, I can't tell you here. I have to tell you afterwards. But,
Okay, fair enough.
anyway, but yeah, the Iron Spider is also kind of a cool. The cool thing about the Iron Spider suit is it's kind of a mix of both suits. You have the Iron Spider suit from Civil War in the comic, and you have the Miles Morales kind of pattern kind of embroidered on it with the design of Spider. So they're kind of seeding some Miles
You know
Morales
what?
stuff.
That's the one thing I'll give you is that I like how they threw little Miles Morales in there.
So I'm saying eventually he's going to pass this suit off to Miles Morales. That's the idea.
Oh, remember when we were young and naive and thought that there was an actual chance that they were going to kill Spider-Man in Infinity War?
To be fair, that was mostly you, but yes, I do remember that time we were both young and naive for that. Yeah, but okay, seriously, talking about the scene though, again, aside from all this like debate about the Iron Spider. Ooh. Um, I love Antigua. This is like the third choice of the movie I was talking about. It really sold me. Like my God, they did this perfectly. Where again, Spider-Man, as you and I, as every Spider fan knows, he's a solo guy. Like yes, he'll work with the Avengers down the line, but at the end of the day, he's a solo guy before he's an Avenger. And I love that he had this moment. That's so true to the character. It's like it's a welcome to the MCU moment. Like welcome to the MCU, Mr. Parker. Again, Tony calling him Mr. Parker after all of Mr. Starks that he's been thrown his way.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, again, he thanked him for the offer. He thanked him for the welcome. He earned the suit. He knows, he's proved his merit as a hero, and he's been offered everything he could ever want, like all the technology and Spider-Man. He was offered a solution to all of his problems, but he turned it down because he, he wants to be on his own merit. He wants to be kind of that hero for the little guy. He wants to. I think he took away from the Vulture's lesson, Tiki. I think he took away from the lesson that, you know what, I don't want to just be Tony Stark Jr. I think that's what he learned from that, Tiki. He doesn't want to just be, you know what, I want to be my own hero. I don't.
Maybe in that regard, the Iron Spider suit was as off-putting to Peter as it was to me.
Maybe again, again, he made a choice in that moment. Is it informed by Vulture? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. And of course, with Pepper Potts back, it's kind of a nice little, again, full circle Iron Man thing of, hey, the gang's back together, big press conference, and it's implied that they're getting married. It's a proposal. It's implied.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of big. Full circle again. 10 years of Marvel, folks. Marriage. Literally doing everything we can with Tony Stark. We're running out of ideas. Does he get killed off in Infinity War? Who knows?
Okay, so this moment was a big, just just holler out loud, laugh out loud moment in the theater.
Yeah, it was a cool way to. It is a cool way to end the movie and show that, yeah, folks, you're gonna want to see the next one. Like, where are we going with this? Aunt May again. We kind of broke one of the age old rules. Aunt May can't know the secret. She's gonna panic. Well, now she knows.
Like, I almost kind of wish they had the balls to do the one F word.
What's I'm trying to think of it. I was watching a movie recently. God, I'm trying to think because I know they. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of Suicide Squad. They got
Well,
the
Ready
animated.
Player One has the one F bomb.
Right. I was either thinking of Suicide Squad, the animated one, or Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, or Red Player One, where they got away from F bomb and
It's
PG-13.
fucking Chucky.
Yeah, it's got to be Red. PG-13 had to be Red Player One. You're right. Yeah, you're right too.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, you can, one F bomb is totally above board in PG-13 movies.
That's true. But however, I think they brought. I think that, if I'm right, I could be misremembering. You'll probably be more aware of this than I think. Black Panther. I think in some of the songs they got away with some F bombs.
Ooh,
I think one
I
of the
don't think
songs.
so.
I could have
I really
sworn I
don't think
heard.
so.
All right, I could be. I could be wrong. Yeah, I had to watch it on DVDs, put the subtitles on, maybe tell. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so yeah, so we're seeing the movie again. I love they earned the suit though, with like Tony giving him the classic Spider-Man suit. One, because yeah, we need him to be in the classic Spider-Man suit. We can't have him go around that hoodie thing. It was nice, but we can't have him go around. We need to sell toys, darn it. But it was a nice gesture.
Hey,
Like
I would buy a toy out of the hoodie suit.
I mean, look, of course they've sold toys of the hoodie suit regardless. So I like that we kind of we had, but he earned it. I like he earned it, and we're in new territory with the Aunt May thing. It's like, hey, here's your classic Spider-Man and a little something extra. Like, hey, Aunt May knows now. Where are we going with this? Like, how's she going to react? I still am of the opinion that Aunt May is going to be. I joked about this in the Christmas pitch that we had. I still think Aunt May is going to be like Tony Stark's going to say, "Kid, your aunt's killing me with all these angry messages she's been leaving me." Okay, this is big. I love this. My God, there's some setup for some villains here. If not, I doubt we're doing Sinister Six next, but I mean, down the line,
Oh
certainly.
God, yeah. I honestly hope that we don't even do Sinister Six in this trilogy. Like that's like Spider-Man 4 and beyond territory.
So I love this was interesting. I rewatched. I kind of caught this. That hey, I love the Scorpion. He doesn't blame the Vulture because again, the Vulture really shot at him, which kind of caused his accident. He does blame Spider-Man. So this guy's an intense hatred of Spider-Man if he's looking past that.
Oh.
So yeah, I love the Scorpion setup because again, like the Scorpions definitely has like a big revenge plot against Spider-Man of Ruin, and I love my read. Sorry, I love the question of is it the Vulture's code that is protecting Spider-Man from Scorpion, or is it he has a revenge plot of his own in the works, or he has his own end game in mind? And for me, the answer is it's his code because one, that's the most interesting idea of the movie, the Vulture, for me. Secondly, my proof of this is that his family is calling to him off in the background. That to me intimates he's thinking of his family, thinking of what he can now, even in prison, he can still see his family now and again, which means he has that thanks to Spider-Man versus dying in a blaze of fire. So at the end of the day, I think it's he's I think he's definitely have a soft spot for Peter Parker.
Uh-huh.
I think it might be like a Doc Ock thing going for like what if Doc Ock didn't die, sort of story,
All right, so before we get to the final thoughts, do you want to just briefly talk about the Cap cameo that's coming up?
Yeah, sure. So that's the kind of get out of the way before we get to the end, because the ending's going to kept talking about the post credit scenes. I mean, again, I can't get enough of the Captain America PSAs. One of the really funny ones that was on the Blu-ray was, and it's so funny that the coach in that earlier detention scene, he was changing the tape on Cap or like pausing it or something because it was going on the detention spiel, and then he was going into one of the next PSAs, which is on the Blu-ray if you want to see it in its full thing, where he's talking about now. Let's talk about your changing body.
God.
Or Cap, and again, it's so cheesy and so wonderful. Where he's saying, "Now I know something about your body changing," because again, the whole super soldier thing, and it's like an alternative. Like, and your parents have you're watching this video if your parents selected the non-sex ed course, essentially.
Uh,
So, oh my god, it's really funny, and this to me is like one of the this is a great fourth wall ending about the post credit scene, about waiting, and getting nothing in the end. I just
it's just like the ultimate, like, for people who complained, like, hey, I waited through Guardians of the Galaxy and all I got was Howard the Duck. Now, personally, Dragon, that might be my favorite post credit scene in all the MCU movies, but I digress. I know there's a lot of people that were mad at that.
yeah. And again, I loved. I think at the end you get like the intimation that your theory might be right. The whole of Cap saying, "How many more of these?" I still think it's Cap getting roped into something that had noble intentions about, but he's instantly regretting, like, "Oh god, I forgot how horrible these things were." But either way, it's funny. Again, I like we were able to work in both kind of icons that kind of infer Spider-Man. And, we did something funnier with Cap, and like, oh yeah, stole Shield. And it's really fun. One of my it's definitely if one of these days I guess we got to do like a top 10 post credit scenes at one point. Definitely after
I
10 years.
was gonna actually suggest that we fit that in with Infinity War. Like, obviously, we don't have time to do that now, but hey, maybe before Avengers 4.
Well, at the very least, maybe like again either that or around Ant Man, because again, 10 years of Marvels, after Ant Man. So
Oh, that's true. That's true.
one I know at some point like in the future, but definitely do like a post credit. This is definitely on my list.
Of
Too.
course,
So
with the problem with Marvel post credits is like, do you do like, is it just MCU? Like,
well, I mean, yes, we could include. Well, anyway, let's not.
yeah. I'm just saying that's a very like we'd have to kind of like fight over some picks. I feel like.
Sure. Oh, Tiki, you can have the Professor X has a secret twin body thing from X-Men Last Stand. You can have that one.
Gee, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome, Tiki. Anyway. All right, so Tiki, how do you feel about the movie?
Yes. Honestly, watching it through again, like you've kind of talked me through. Yeah, I'm a bit more convinced that I might have been a little bit harsh on the pathos thing. I mean, there is moments of pathos in here. It still doesn't really resonate with me the way a lot of MCU movies do. I mean, it's definitely not the weakest MCU movie by a long stretch, but it's also like not even close to being in my top 5 MCU. So it's right in the middle. It's kind of like I'd say like yeah, it is kind of my definition of an average MCU movie, which is to say there's nothing that it does bad, but it doesn't really like the one big thing it has going for it is Michael Keaton all the way through. Like Michael Keaton never has a bad moment in it. But it's definitely I would say out of the 3 MCU movies that we got in 2017, it was pretty definitively my least favorite of Guardians Volume 2 and Thor Ragnarok and this. But I mean, that's a hell of a lineup. So, that's some heavy competition there. But overall, like I said, it doesn't do anything bad, but it's not my Spider-Man.
All right, for me, Homecoming. I mean, for me, it really is all I could have asked of Spider-Man in the MCU. I mean, just humble expectations. I just wanted to see him worked into. You just kind of see Spider-Man worked into the grand fabric we've established in the MCU and just be a good movie. So I kind of got my wishes with that. At the end of the day, I'm still of the same opinion as I was in the beginning when the movie first came out. And you know what? It may not be the iconic or as favored as Spider-Man 2. So at the end of the day, I think the best Spider-Man movie is is Spider-Man 2. However, I'm still of the opinion. I'll make a feigning case for it, but I'll be frank. I still the best Spider-Man, like the favorite Spider-Man, like the best one, like the one that's like I would watch this more than I would watch Spider-Man Homecoming is Spider-Man 2, obviously. But I still think this may be objectively better in
Don't say
terms of
it. Don't say it. Don't you dare fucking say it.
look. At the end of the day, Spider-Man 2 is going to win. If I'm to put them up against each other, Spider-Man 2 is going to win because
Look, yeah, obviously, but don't even say that this is better than Spider-Man 1 because it's not.
Look, here's what I'm. Just wait for it. Wait for it. Let me say my thing. All right. So
Okay.
the grand scheme, I would say this. All right. I'm going to say I think it's neck and neck with Spider-Man 1. It's neck and neck with Spider-Man 1. All right.
This is going to be a we'll agree to disagree
Let
thing.
me, again, in the
there's a
grand,
pretty substantial gap.
in the grand scheme, I'm saying like we're looking at all, looking at all of them. I'm saying it's neck and neck with Spider-Man 1 for the number 2 spot. Again, Spider-Man for the number 2 spot as and it's Spider-Man 2 still at the very top there. But again, I think plot-wise, it's really I think it's well plotted. I like the story, and again, we have a really cool villain. And I'm just saying, Spider-Man 1 nostalgically is great and would be under Spider-Man 2, but we're factoring them all in there. Tiki.
Spider-Man 1 gave us J. Jonah Jameson Dragon.
It did, and that's great. I'm saying that Spider-Man 1 though, we do have some things that don't necessarily hold up as well.
Yeah.
I'm saying okay. Anyway, so at the end of the day, this is a celebration of who. Like the Raimi movies, particularly Spider-Man 2 and 1, it's those are movies about Spider-Man. Those are great. Those are like kind of like achievements of cinema and like adapting a character. Well, achievements of telling a story with a beloved character. I feel Spider-Man Homecoming. This is like the only defense I have, and I'll say the last thing is that I feel Homecoming adapted the Spider-Man we knew in the comics, and that's what it is. It's a celebration of who Spider-Man is and the Spider-Man we fell in love with in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm with you, Tiki. It's not my top 5 MCU. It's not top 5 MCU material by any stretch. But it is a good omen for Spider-Man films being post this kind of the Sony Marvel deal. It's a good omen for them. I feel again, it feels like the beginning of something. It flushes out. Again, it flushes out like a great niche in kind of the grand fabric of the awesome MCU. Again, it's kind of a more cinematic kind of version of the Netflix shows that we can kind of get more of on screen. So if we're never going to see Netflix on the big screen, this is the next best thing. So I'm still very happy with it. I'm still like just humble expectations. Like I want a good Spider movie in the MCU where we can actually acknowledge like oh yeah we're connecting the grand fabric of things and maybe grow from there. It's a blast.
Okay, folks. Well, thank you so much for watching. We will be back before Infinity War to deliver our commentary on the only other MCU movie that does not have a commentary, which, symmetrically enough, Dragon, to quote the great George Lucas, it's like poetry. It rhymes. We're going to be talking about Iron Man, the original, the one that started it all, the night before Infinity War. How fitting is that?
It is very fitting. And a little fun fact for the folks out there: the Iron Man commentary. This is so unique. We never have this. We've never had this with any of the other commentaries we've ever done. Is that the Iron Man technically did have a commentary, but they lost it. So it's a long lost commentary. So that's the thing. No one has ever heard it because they recorded it, but they lost it. They never re-recorded it.
Oh man.
So we're going to amend that.
All right. In the meantime, folks, you know what? Since this is a Spider-Man commentary, after all, we got to give at least one Franco shout out. So, Dragon, please, dear sir, please, I implore you, Dragon, ask me how my pie is.
Hey, Tiki, how's that pie?
It's so good.